Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, your host. It's late night on a Thursday, July 9th, 9:30 p.m. and we're going to have a good time tonight. We are drafting some best ball teams. Let's get it going. All right, they launched the Fast Puppy today. That's definitely the vibe. However, I think I might enter the Bulldog. People were asking if I was going to enter the Dalmatian. I think instead I'm going to do the Bulldog with my homie Angus. I think we're going to have a joint entry tonight. It looks like it's going to fill tonight. I really don't think it will be open when I wake up. There's already been 1,100 entries today. The contest dropped this morning, and there's only 1,488 spots. So I don't know how much longer it will be available. Let me refresh. Let me actually see what the totally exact number is. Honestly, I don't even read that error message. I just get rid of it. I have no idea what the fuck that says. Okay, sitting at 1264 right now. Yeah, there's 200 spots remaining. Me and Angus really wanted to do it together in the morning, but I just don't think it's possible. I'm going to hop in. If you want to join the Bulldog, let's go. 8 spots remaining. This thing has been filling pretty quickly. So we will wait for it to fill. I'm not totally sure how long it'll take, but it's definitely worth it. Already, a spot has been claimed. So let's check in with the chat before we begin. We got Money Ain't a Thing. Good to see you, my man. Fimpst, you did beat Game Tight by like literally a fraction of a second. Like almost identically. I think when Game Tight was typing this, you were hitting enter. So congrats on the unofficial. What's your prize? A shout out at the top. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. But thank you, Game Tight, as well. And Air Jeff, aloha to you. What up? What up? Fancy Monster, mixing up the hashtags this evening. Hashtag I know ball. Malcolm X probably would, but Air Jeff just finished my 2 Bulldog drafts. Good for you, bro. Getting them in seems like for the money, it might be worth it. Like if you make the final, only 30 other people in the final. Can't beat that. For a max buy-in of $150, can't beat that. But imagine you finish last in the final, like theoretically speaking, that is also possible. You would still double your money. You'd still double it. If you only enter one contest, you will get that money back if you advance. And the advance rate is 3 out of 12. So pretty strong odds. Then it's 2 out of 6. Gotta love that. 1 out of 4. That is really, really tough to beat. The Bulldog is a very fun contest. 20K up top. First place still gets a handsome reward. And I believe you still get compensated very well, even if you're like not even in the top half of the final. Yeah, top 18 still takes home 1K. Not too shabby. Not bad at all. Top 10, 2,000, and it incrementally works its way up to, I guess it's a little bit more top heavy. It's kind of slowly trickling down. It's 3rd through 10th. But if you make 4 digits off $75, you are living. You are very happy. So 3 spots remaining in this Bulldog. We will wait for it to full, and we'll let it transpire. But after that, we'll definitely do a Fast Puppy. At least one. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming after midnight tonight, starting a little bit later than usual, but as typical, in the title, it is live best ball drafts. That S, that plural, is rather important. It's never just one. If it is, I always tell you. But real quick, before we get going, quick shout out to our sponsor, the platform we are drafting on. You can get $50 in bonus entries if you sign up using promo code BLUNT. The link is in the description. We are also offering a first-time deposit match up to $1,000. 50% of your first deposit will also be matched. And then once you play your first $5, you get an extra $50 on top. So promo code BLUNT, check out the link in the description. Terms apply. It's only eligible for new customers. And there are some areas of the United States or Canada. I don't know what they got going on right now, where it's also ineligible. There are some odd places where you still can't play Underdog. But for the most part, like vast majority of the country, it is available. And oh boy, we get pick 2. We're right next to Game Tight, who knows his shit, is watching, a member of the channel, but still, yo, we get pick 2. I am excited. Let me get this graphic off the board. There it is. We have pick 2. Couldn't have asked for anything better. But yo, we got our boy Jiri in the chat. Let's go. Very excited. GM, we're getting money tonight. Pick 2 in the Bulldog. Very excited for this opportunity. But I'll try to join your fast puppy after this. Looking forward to that, Air Jeff. Looking forward to that. But that's cool. Your code is blunt. It's also nice and blunt. Both of them work, but to condense it down to just blunt, that was always a nice little throwing me a bone in terms of the adjustment. But yeah, blunt, always easy to remember. Chad, how we doing? Good evening. Nice showing yesterday on Jeopardy. Appreciate that, Chad. Appreciate that. I was very proud of myself for not shitting the bed. I was a little worried that I would just get train wrecked and never really have a shot in that one, but I was able to maybe like psych myself out so much about that fear that Who Hames would dominate so much that I was very well prepared. And yeah, Best Ball Jeopardy went very much in my favor yesterday. There were a couple instances where luck was on my side. If anything, getting a question wrong actually played into my favor. You know, the funniest moment I think that happened was when I was guessing the Dolphin stack and I had the right running back, but I messed it up and I pivoted from Jalen Wright to Ollie Gordon. That was wrong. However, because I corrected it in the moment, when I watched it on the replay, Who Hames didn't even think to correct the second piece of the equation, which was the wide receiver down the stretch. I took Caleb Douglas. That's who he was thinking. But in actuality, the correct answer was Chris Bell. And thankfully, I got the board back because even though Who Hames corrected one of my mistakes, it wasn't as apparent that the second player was also a mistake. So luck was in my favor. That one was nice. And looking back on it, that one may have decided the round, honestly. The misfire on Ollie Gordon saved me from correcting Caleb Douglas, and I got the board back. So yeah, last night was fun. I got to say, last night was a lot of fun. Very excited for round 2 on Best Ball Jeopardy. If you haven't done so already, check out the replay over on the Fanspeak Network. Me versus Who Hames last night. It was pretty fun, but I know there's been a lot of content in the overall fantasy echo chamber, the sphere of in the ether. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. The So You Think You Can Tout contest has been going on. So not only that, the typical bevy of options. If you missed it, catch the replay. Highly recommend if you want to see the final score. I'm not gonna reveal the final score. That's for a little teaser. If you haven't watched yet, you can find out how it went with the final score on the replay. But we are in the second round. I realize the music's not playing. Let's bring in the music, shall we? Let's make this a true blunt stream. After all, we're in the Bulldog. We need the vibes. Let's get it popping. So we took Bijan after Gibbs goes. Me and Game Tight. We're very happy with these picks. I don't really recognize anybody else in terms of like consistent members of the lobby. We have drafted with Dildo Schwaggins before at pick 10. He gets Taylor to fall, paired up with Walker. That's pretty interesting. We see Lamb go at pick 5 in this one. That's probably the most unique pick of the first round. And I will say, in these contests, I don't know if you need to get unique. I think if you want to get unique, I think structurally going with a running back is not a bad choice. However, if you feel that conviction, you only have 2 cracks at the apple in this contest. If you want CeeDee Lamb that bad, probably just fine. But I'm ecstatic with Bijan here. We're about to be on the clock, and boy, I would love Rashee Rice. Nico Collins goes. I am kind of vehemently Rashee Rice over George Pickens. I feel ecstatic about this pick. We'll see what Game Tight does. I would imagine Pickens comes off the board with one of these two picks, but you can never be too sure, and there's always other pivoting options. What sucks is if he takes Pickens, not gonna lie. Oh, he goes Olave. Interesting. And Travis. Boy, I'm. There's a world where this is not the right pick, but I'm gonna be honest, Game Tight. I am very grateful that Pickens is still on the board here. I think round 3 is a tough one. There's a lot of kind of mediocre bets, especially at the top of round 3. Calling your shot accurately is not the easiest thing to do. So I am ecstatic to get Pickens at a little fall, a little discount, pick 26. There might be some teams with these two options in the opposite order. It's going to be Bijan, Pickens, then Rashee Rice on other teams. But I don't give a shit. I'm sticking to my rankings. I love Rashee Rice. And you know who else loves Rashee Rice? My boy Angus, who is splitting this entry fee with me. We are in this one together. We were hopeful to draft it tomorrow morning. He's unavailable tonight, but we're in it together. And I know he's a fan of Rashee Rice. That's his fucking man. I think Rashee Rice should be going in the second round, if not like even at the top of the second possibly. But he's also a fan of the Cowboys passing game. He prefers CeeDee Lamb, but getting Pickens in the third, nice little consolation prize. I'm pretty happy with what we got so far. But I'll be honest, the chat has frozen for me. I'm not totally sure. There we go. Getting it back. But Dildo Schwaggens is in the chat. My bad, man. Love the avatar. Love the South Park on the avatar. And thank you for dropping a little fart. Always appreciate it. Good to see you. You took Taylor and Walker. That's pretty sweet. You're on the clock right now, so might as well take a gander at what you're going to do. You go Ladd McConkey. Love it. Honestly, if Pickens had been taken, I would have mulled over a Ladd McConkey pull-up at pick 26. Not going to lie, I'm not dying to pull up Zay Flowers as much as I am Ladd McConkey and T. Higgins. If I've got a lot of T. Higgins already, but if I'm feeling weird in the third and I'm going to pay the price, I'd rather get the Chargers passing game than Zay Flowers. More touchdowns, I think, are in store for Ladd McConkey this year. Maybe more yards for Flowers, but that's not a guarantee. Not at all. Jack asking, thoughts on Cooper Kupp this year? Oh, boy. I mean, last year I was pretty out. So another year, the same argument is pretty clear. He's getting older. He's gotten severely injured at times. His stint with the Rams kind of ended poorly for that reason. And although the Seahawks did commit a lot of money to him, like he demanded it on the open market, given his track record, I still understand the argument to believe in him. Like there's still the Cooper Kupp X factor at the end of the day. But the Seahawks passing game is not one I want to buy into even more in terms of optimism. I'm not that excited about what they're going to look like this year. They probably throw the ball more often, but losing Clint Kubiak just on that surface alone is not that inspiring. So I'd be a little worried about it, especially if he gets hurt. But when you look at the numbers last year, he never hit like 10 points. Like until the playoffs, he was never in your best ball lineup. He was really bad from a spike week standpoint. I'd much rather have Torrey Horton for the sake of best ball, because this is not redraft. You're not trying to just play it safe with like an 8 points in the flex just to make sure you don't get a bagel. Like in best ball, you don't have to worry about when to take him. Wow, Waddle's here? Fuck yeah. I will take Waddle pretty happily. I have him like by far as the highest ranked. By ADP, he's falling a tiny bit here, but I think he should be going closer to the top of the round. So, oh boy, this is a lit receiver room. We got Bijan, Rashee Rice, George Pickens, and Jalen Waddle. Starting roster, going to be fire. But easy to like your team through the first 4 rounds. Round 5 is where it gets interesting. And moving forward is where you have to separate yourself. Can't judge it by just 4 picks. But as much as I'm tempted to go Adams, I think this is the last pocket to get a valuable running back. and it's not even close for me. I have a DeAndre Swift actually as a 4th round pick. I'm gonna go Swift all day here. I think the ADP is wrong. He's still going too late, but one of the safest money in the bank picks in the 5th round. The only world where he doesn't work out is if he gets hurt. That's legitimately the only scenario. I think he does not pay off this price, but he's been a top 20 running back like each of the last 4 years, I want to say. Like, it's been at least since he was in Philly. I believe it was the year prior to that he was still top 20, at least in points per game. He's definitely done that year over year. He's being drafted outside the top 20, so he will pay off. I think it's a pretty obvious bet. But nice to see you, Mr. Schwaggins. You went with Egbuka in round 4. Pretty solid pick. Game Tight did ask me. Sorry, the chat had frozen for a bit, so I did not actually see this when it came in. But don't feel bad for taking gives. If anything, I actually have gotten a lot more 101s recently than 102s. I'm not going to worry about it. There's still time, but I'm exposure-wise lower on Bijan than Gibbs. So to get him here in this higher price contest, I'm actually really happy about that. But Kyle's Burt audio. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I traded my first, second, third last year, but I have Josh Allen, AJ Brown, Rashee Rice, Ken Walker, Bucky Irving, and George Kittle as my keepers. My question is, do you keep Breece Hall or Bucky Irving? This may have been the question yesterday. I apologize if I thought this was just like strictly Dynasty and kind of glazed over it. Yesterday, I was kind of just riding the high of the Best Ball Jeopardy win. So in all seriousness, I would much rather have Breece Hall over Bucky. There's just some weird vibes with Bucky. Breece was drafted much higher and I think is much more likely to stay healthy. Bucky had some legit injury concerns last year and like weird vibes in terms of like how much does he actually want to play football, especially if he's going to be in a lot of pain. There are some like above the shoulders concerns on Bucky in the background that I've heard some reporting on by a trusted source, Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated or The Athletic, I forget, but very reputable source questioned some of the team's confidence in Bucky even last year. So I would go Breece Hall for sure. I think talent-wise, I trust Breece more in the passing game, and I think he's more explosive, ultimately better athlete, despite maybe a worse situation. But even in half PPR, yeah, still give me Breece all day. Yo, what's up, A-Rod? Nice to see you. After these next 2 picks, maybe we'll hit the pipe in honor of the blunt emojis. But what's nice about this contest is I don't got to worry about other teams getting Quentin Johnston 30 picks cheaper. I can just take him here. And I think as long as I get him, I don't think Game Tight will snipe me. Please, Game Tight, don't you take Justin Herbert from me. That's the one fucking request. That's the one fucking thing I ask. Don't you dare. Thank God. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I get the MVP on my team. If Herbert's not the MVP, it could actually be Caleb Williams. It could maybe be Trevor Lawrence or Drake May. But I'm willing to stake my claim. Herbert all day is the quarterback I wanted on this team. I'm only drafting one of these. I'm actually not entering my second Bulldog. I'm only doing one. So if I can only have one fucking quarterback, give me Justin Herbert. And there's definitely no issue with that, especially with Angus. We're both Charger fans. QJ maybe doesn't deserve to go this high, but locking up the stack is definitely the move. We get the bring back as well with Rashee Rice. But how we doing? I'm very late on the chat. I gotta get back to it. Bruh. Why is Rice so coveted? I prefer Marvin Harrison or BTJ any day. You know, that is an interesting. Have you looked at his game log? Game Tight. Have you looked at his active game log last year? Because I'm gonna pull it up in a different window and bring it in to show you. They didn't bring in a single weapon in Kansas City. Maybe, just maybe, Xavier Worthy develops and eats something away from him, but I'm not really willing to take that bet. I'm more sure of the fact that Rashee Rice is their go-to option. Another year older for Travis Kelce, who's still very much involved, but like, no doubt about it, Rashee Rice is the engine of this passing game. And while they probably run the ball more with Ken Walker, that just helps the offense, if anything, with a more viable run game, just stay on the field. So let me pull this in for you. I'm going to put it in dark mode so none of you guys get blinded. I know it's late at night, but here we go as we enter round number 8. These are Rashee Rice's stats, his game log for last year. Let me zoom in a little bit. Might as well. Once he was active, I'm not even going to read to you the stats. I'm just going to read to you the half PPR fantasy points. 19.7, 21 points, 16.6, the bye week, 6.8, 18.1, 25.4, 5.4. I think this was the game where Mahomes went down. If not, it was the next week with 8.6. There was only one game with less than 8 targets. 4 of them, he went over 10. I rest my case. 5 games out of 8 with at least 16.6 fantasy points. I trust Rashee Rice when healthy. Okay, here we are in the 8-9 turn. Game tight has the 1-2-3-1. He might be needing running back. ADP, I'm not going to take Worthy. If anything, I kind of just want to lock up like Brock Purdy here. I kind of just want to do that. But he's on the thumbnail. I'm actually really talking myself into Ricky Pearsall being one of the true possible league winners at this turn, at this position. This receiving room is just fucking fire right now, and we can tolerate the risk factor with Ricky Pearsall and his health. But all his injuries, I think, aren't the most repeatable. Sam Laporta goes, and if Purdy gets sniped, that's game tight's decision. But I was kind of hopeful he would leave me at least the choice of Laporta versus Brock Purdy. That'd have been pretty sweet. But if I take Brock Purdy here, I think I can stop. He goes Goff. Excellent. It's between Brock Purdy and Bo Nix. And there's actually a slight chance that Bo Nix circles back. But I don't really want to take my chances with the quarterback position in the next round. This is the pocket to take it. We got Bijan and Swift. I'm going to trust that and just build out the depth. We have tremendous receiving talent, so that's not going to be a position of need. So far, the team, I think, is extremely strong, given the starting roster capabilities. Now, I don't have my tight end yet, but that's fine. There's still some values left on the board. Would have been interesting to have an elite one. If Laporta was there, I might have taken him, but I think the Ricky Pearsall-Brock Purdy combo paired up with the Quentin Johnston Justin Herbert combo, I think I can stop at 2. With those quarterbacks, we can get 3 tight ends. Maybe I'll take the third quarterback, but I'm not as dying to do that. This is a higher advance rate, a 3 out of 12. Maybe the third quarterback is not as necessary. But back to your questions, Mr. Schwaggins. Why you like Waddle so much? It's a bet on the Sean Payton offense. We've seen Michael Thomas be the number 1 overall receiver in the past. And while maybe Waddle's not going to be that good, I don't think there's anyone that really competes with him for his target share. And last year, Troy Franklin had over 100 targets. Troy Franklin had over 100 targets. And for good measure, let's remind you how many targets Ingram had. Evan Ingram also had 76. Pat Bryant had 49. Cortland Sutton had 124. But Troy Franklin had 104 targets. That's because Bo Nix threw the ball 612 times last year. And despite maybe your point of spreading it around so much, they don't have a weapon like Waddle. They spent a first-round pick to get him via trade. And in terms of like the offenses I want to invest in, the Broncos have one of the highest ceilings, and I think Waddle's just being slept on. At that turn, I don't think there's a safer pick than the volume going to Waddle. Now, maybe you can argue that Adams is a safer pick, but his yardage really fell off a cliff last year. It's all about touchdowns, and he's much older. Waddle has had some injury issues in the past, but ever since Tyreek Hill got to Miami, he's kind of been just in his shadow, and his rookie season, I think, is going to be more emblematic of the year we get out of Waddle this time around. I think he's more valuable in full PPR. I think the volume is going to be close to 130 targets, but I think the touchdowns could hit double digits, and I feel ecstatic about the upside case, given this is a player we have drafted in the second round before, and his situation drastically improved. So I like the offense. I want to bet on it. I also like the Bo Nix bet, so getting a stacking partner with a really valuable option is pretty sweet too. Waddle opens up a lot. I also like the bring back with Drake May. An excuse to take him is always pretty sweet. So the compelling argument for him is far more compelling than the slight downside that maybe the ball gets spread around a little bit too much. I think it will be more consolidated this year. I could be wrong, but I believe that... ooh, interesting. Kyler fell back. Kind of compelling to take him, but that's not my desired pick here. Damn, Comfy goes Aaron Jones. I'm going to take Kittle, though. I'm not going to... Actually, no. I'm going to... Chris Rodriguez first. Sorry, Game Tight. I don't think you're going to snipe me, though. You already have two tight ends. You have Loveland and Laporta. I'm going to read the room, take a peek at the turn, and assume that you would much rather have Chris Rodriguez than George Kittle structurally. You go Kyler at the value, your third quarterback, and Concepcion. Yeah, that's what I thought. Come on down, George Kittle. Let's go. We got the Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle combo. And Kittle also fell 9 picks. Excellent. Excellent. I believe that ADP in this contest is probably mostly linked to the Purdy stack. But here we are. Honestly, I don't think I need another Charger on this team. If I don't get one, I'm not going to be upset. Don't think I need another Niner on this team. No issue at all. This team's coming together. I'm excited about this one. Quite a bit. But sorry, the chat keeps fucking freezing. But Rice has a total of 14 touchdowns through 3 seasons of playing with Mahomes. He's also missed a lot of time. Are you acknowledging how many games he missed because of the suspension last year and then the late season injury, as well as the year prior when he had, or maybe it was 2 years prior, I forget, when he literally went down week 3 with the Mahomes shoulder to the kneecap? Remember when Mahomes took out his best receiver? Yeah, there's also that factor. He's missed a shit ton of games. But you're welcome, Kyle. You're welcome. Rice seems like a big risk off the field, too. I mean, there's that factor. But, at this point, I kind of don't give a shit. I'm willing to believe that at this point, maybe he feels invincible because the stint in jail wasn't that big of a deal. But, I think he could also have been scared straight a little bit, and he'll just play it wise until he gets paid. I think there's enough of a reason to assume that Rashee Rice is motivated to stay out of trouble. But Ricky Bullets is a nice bet. I agree. I think he's a very, very high upside play. Are we really convinced that the Niners receiver 2 isn't worth a top 40 investment at the position? Really? The 49ers wide receiver 2 is barely top 50? That doesn't feel right. But good evening, Ever in Flux. I'm late on the chat. Apologies for only getting to this now, but nice to see you. I mentioned... Oh, Fuck. Yo. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. But back to the board, definitely what you'd rather see. My bad. Game Tight, I think he just hates the price for Rashee Rice. That's also fair. I think if you have a stance against him, that's also very fair. But thanks, Goff had to come along for the stack. Yeah, that was not bad at all. Having Gibbs with Laporte and Goff. Did you also have JMO? You do. The mega stack. Not bad. But everyone flux liking our start. I like it too. Our running back room, I think, was kind of saved by C-Rod there. Massive cliff after C-Rod. I also think he's going to be pretty healthy. So I think he's my preferred bet right now in Jacksonville. Not that I don't want any Baishal Tootin, but I think for the cost, I'd rather bet on a Chris Rodriguez at this ADP. But boy, running back is not enticing at all. I mentioned I'm not dying to get the Chargers stacks on this one. Let's play with fire. Let's really go for this true ceiling. I think we can afford it. I'm gonna go Travis Hunter here. Maybe Angus is not gonna like that, but I think I'd pick 143. That's lower than where he typically goes. So in this contest, some people are just avoiding it altogether. But if you tell me there's an injury to one of those three guys at any point this year, I think Travis Hunter fucking crushes. And it's a really, really compelling bet to me. I think here the better value is actually tight end rather than Woody Marks or Pacheco. I could see maybe Woody Marks having some value to my roster here, but I think getting Hunter Henry in a very established tight end that I like. I also love his week 17 matchup against Denver. It's a bring back with Waddle, but it's also a reliable part of the Patriots offense that scores a lot of touchdowns, go-to target in the red zone last 2 seasons with Drake May. In a game that should be high scoring, Patriots versus Broncos, and we're getting the opposite of the Surtain downgrade. Pat Surtain will be very focused on A.J. Brown. Drake May will be looking elsewhere, and I don't think the Broncos linebacking core is going to come close in any way, shape, or form to as much of a downgrade as Pat Surtain. So I could see Hunter Henry as a blow-up candidate week 17. I wouldn't be surprised if he had at least one touchdown in that Broncos game that week. I think Hunter Henry is going to have a valuable week 17 in the Best Ball Championship. Maybe I'm wish casting. I might be over optimistic, but I definitely look at that matchup as a high upside one. However, I want to be looking a little bit elsewhere than AJ Brown. I'm still fine taking AJ Brown, but when I want that Broncos Patriots game, I'm not totally convinced that AJ Brown will be wide receiver 1 on the week lined up against Pat Surtain. Game Time says Kittle seems too risky, hard for me to click. I understand that, but I think just locking up the volume at the position, and then we still need the upside. We still have to finish first in the contest. You telling me we have Kittle in the starting lineup week 17, fully healthy? There's not that many tight ends I'd rather have at this price. So I get it. Definitely a risky bet, but with the bet on Purdy, there's already injury concerns. I'm going to draft 3 tight ends regardless. I am okay taking Kittle. But Mahomes has missed time too. There's also that, but the only time Mahomes really coming off the field, it's a very serious injury. Like, other than last year, there's like maybe one game where Carson Wentz finished it, but like Mahomes is typically playing through his injuries. Typically, they're always in contention for not just the playoffs, but a Super Bowl. So he stays on the field. Mahomes is probably eligible week 1. Might start off a little slow, but I'm not really that worried about Mahomes missing that much time. But Air Jeff says, if I have Purdy, I'll click Kittle, but also draft Tonjes, last pick. I know. I will say, Tonjes is kind of brewing in the back of my mind. You're telling me I lock up the Niners tight end 1 every week? That could just be the safest move. Because who's to say that the weeks when Kittle is out, that I'm actually getting like the higher correlated weeks with my other tight ends? It's possible that they line up with when Kittle is healthy and, you know, my flex is popping and those spike weeks at tight end 2 just aren't used. Like that's also a possibility. Sometimes the handcuff argument is valid in that regard because of when they are valuable. It lines up in the opposite weeks, and then sometimes they also both pop off in the right matchup. It is also possible. It goes that way, but my ADP, my ranking might have given it away. We'll see what Comfy does. He has 5 running backs already, so I assume I get my boy, and yes, I get the bring back with Purdy and the Niners. If Bigsby's the man, it's later in the year, it's in the fantasy playoffs, this is the bring back I'm happy to have. It wouldn't be a true nice and blunt team without Tank motherfucking Bigsby. So very, very happy to take him at 167. His price has been moving up the board, and sorry, Game Tight, but there was no fucking chance. I was leaving him for you. You want Charbonnet? You can have Charbonnet if you want him. I get it. I took Travis Hunter. I'm not taking Charbonnet as well, but I think my receiver room can tolerate Travis Hunter. I don't believe my running back room can tolerate Zach Charbonnet. Tight end room, though, might really benefit from just a money in the bank pick, locking up the volume. I'm going to go the safe route with Dalton Schultz because his volume is just really, really money in the bank. I have no concern worrying about the volume for Dalton Schultz. So the weeks when I don't have Kittle available to me, I still have 20-point upside with Hunter Henry. He hit that multiple times last year. One week it was 25 points. The other it was 20. And then Dalton Schultz had some of the most targets at the position last season. I wouldn't really assume his role to change very much. Maybe Cade Stover can come alive, but Schultz has been very reliable since his days in Dallas. And the only thing missing in Houston is the touchdowns. But if you're telling me I like consistently have access to an 8-point floor with a very risky high variance play like Kittle, I kind of all or nothing. When Kittle's on the field, I'm getting 10 plus points. So I don't give a shit. But when he's not there, Schultz can just give me 7, 8.5. Just keep the ball rolling. Keep giving me usable weeks at the position that, you know, let's be honest. Oftentimes what burns you at tight end is a lot of weeks with less than 4 points. Not the guy that is always giving you 8 points and just keeping your roster flexible. Now, you need the upside for sure. In best ball, absolutely. But that's where Kittle and Henry come in. Schultz is the money in the bank pick. Jet Dog saying Dalton is my most drafted overall. Pretty safe bet. Pretty fucking safe bet. But, yo, what's up, Bukowski? How we doing, brother? I'll be honest. I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm liking this team quite a bit. The Bijan in the Bulldog has to feel good. Has to have a little extra oomph. One of those top 2 running backs is absolutely a blessing. So don't want to let that go to waste, but we're done at quarterback, I think, with Herbert and Purdy. I'm willing to stop. At tight end, we got a little bit of risk with Kittle. We got a little bit of risk with Travis Hunter as well, but I think the depth at those 2 positions is really, really helpful and reliable. The volume is really sweet. I'll show you the full breakdown here. Herbert and Brock Purdy. Running back has Bijan, Swift, Rodriguez, and Tank Bigsby. We do have a little double week 10 bye, so that's something to avoid here, but it's not the end of the world. I have 3 clicks left. I have Rashee Rice, George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Quentin Johnston, and Ricky Pearsall. Those top 5 are fucking fire. Hunter might not hit the lineup often, but I don't need him to. And when he does, I'm looking for that London Rams matchup to come back around and be a factor. That I'm excited for. Here, I'm tempted to take the safe play, But nah, I'm going to go with Jaden Blue. I'm going to take another Cowboy. Blues ADP's been rising. In the last month, he's actually the fastest moving player at the running back position. He's risen 19 picks over the last 30 days. In the last week, it's 9 picks. So Jaden Blue, I kind of wanted Katron there as well, but not the end of the world not to get him. Damn, these last 2 picks are a little tough because I kind of want to take running back 6 here. I kind of want to do it. Would have loved Katron there, honestly. I'm going to go Marshawn Lloyd. We're going to have a little fun. Angus might hate this, but I think the receiver room is good enough to stop at 7. And because RB3 is Chris Rodriguez and then it's big speed, like there's not that much guaranteed with these two. Like if the foot injury really is a problem for C-Rod, then like that could have been a bad pick. But I'm willing to trust him. I have some confidence in C-Rod, and then I also think these top 2 have a lot of confidence. But if I suffer an injury, maybe Swift misses a few weeks, then having a few extra bullets in the chamber are pretty legit, and like just true league winning upside. Marshawn Lloyd does have access to that. I'm not as convinced that Katron can do it. I think Katron can pop every now and then, but like in terms of just like winning the job and like really hitting in a fire offense on all cylinders, not having to split as much time if Jacobs goes down, I think Lloyd has some higher upside in that scenario. Obviously though, he may never play more than 10 snaps. But okay, trusting receiver I think is the move. But that might have been a risky play. Structurally, I'm not totally sure if I should have taken running back at all there, let alone Marshawn Lloyd. I'll be totally honest. That pick may have been costly, but round 17 way more affordable to fuck up than around 11. Honestly, up until that point, I don't think I had any pick that made me more concerned than the Marshawn Lloyd pick. So it is what it is, but having fun and shooting for the moon. We got Bukowski in here. If Hunter has a significant role, the wide receiver room is elite. I know that. Imagine if Hunter actually plays like even just like 70% of the snaps. I'm actually starting to. So the Jags receiving core has been a topic on this channel consistently. We have a bet with Jiri football, Brian Thomas Jr. versus Parker Washington straight up. In an ideal world, I think the Jags would like Travis Hunter to actually be their number 1 receiver. I think in an ideal world, that's actually what they would like. Now, will that ideal world materialize anytime soon? That is a very unreasonable bet to make, but he might just be their most talented player. They drafted him 2nd overall. They took Brian Thomas Jr. like 21st or 23rd overall. But reports were that in early training camp, he was not running on defense at all. He was like strictly wearing an offensive jersey. But Christian Ramos says, I've been getting a lot of Tajay lately. I still have been mostly just trying to play Tennessee through Tony Pollard. But Keith, the big shooter in here, what's up? Hope all is well. Is this your last draft? No, this is our first draft of the evening. It is a Bulldog. We put down $75. I'm splitting it with my homeboy Angus, and we are in a very small contest structure. So the chances of us making the final and making 4 figures are actually pretty decent. But okay, last pick needs to be receiver. I think I'm gonna go with Keenan Allen. There's a lot of bad picks in this round. Keenan could be one of them, but if he's not, he's the best pick. If he's not a bad pick, he is the best pick, I think. I think you can lock up the most volume with Keenan if he's actually going to play. So let's do it. The boy, this is a fun team. Full final recap. Herbert and Purdy, Bijan Swift, C-Rod, Tank Bigsby, Jaden Blue, and Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receiver room has Rashee Rice, George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Quentin Johnston, Ricky Pearsall, Travis Hunter, and Keenan Allen. And then the tight end room has Kittle, Hunter Henry, and Dalton Schultz. There are a few rather risky picks. Let's not lie. The floor with Kittle is possibly an issue. The retirement threat with Keenan is definitely a concern. And then Travis Hunter, you know, we might have just drafted the top corner in the NFL. But at running back, it's just kind of like, can C-Rod hit the flex enough? And will these top two stay healthy? Otherwise, though, these last three might just not hit the field. That's also possible. So touches could be an issue, but quarterback play is not. We have elite ceiling capabilities with both Herbert and Brock Purdy. Very fun team. Very excited about that. We got some nice bringbacks as well. Herbert with Rashee Rice. We also have Purdy versus Tank Bigsby. And then throughout this lobby, I don't think we have a bringback on Bijan or even Swift. I actually don't think we have that. But we did have the Denver bring back Waddle versus Hunter Henry. And then there is also, I was going to say C-Rod and Travis Hunter, but they're on the same team. That is a correlation. We also have Pickens and Jaden Blue. That's also a correlation. Technically, I have the Marshawn Lloyd versus Dalton Schultz correlation, Green Bay and Houston as well. So I'll send this over to Angus. Definitely want to label this team, but I'm excited. I like it quite a bit. Looks like Keith likes it if my receivers hit. I feel good enough about the top five that I say it will. I think it will. But what's the next draft? Fast Puppy, definitely Austin. That is definitely the case. We're going to take a look at Game Tight's team real quick. And also Mr. Schwaggins, who's in the chat with us. We are not going to do a BBM next, though. I assure you that. I will do a Fast Puppy up next. But what's on decks? I'll do a Bulldog with you. I'm not doing the second Bulldog. I'll be honest with you. Only one. That is what the budget can afford. But is there any chance you do a Mania tonight? There is not, Jack Dog, if that's what you're hoping for. It is not going to happen. Maybe next time. But doing another draft, just tuned in. Yes, indeed. Dildo Schwaggins says, hate my team. That's why it has a chance of being good. We'll take a look for sure. Let me just catch up with the chat real quick. We got Anthony. What's up, nice and blunt? How you doing? Anthony, good to see you. Let's take a rip since that draft, I think, went really fucking well for your boy. Let's do it. All right. Yo, are you playing Hearts right now? Are you shooting the moon playing Hearts? I love playing Hearts. You need 4 people, but whenever I have a chance, I love to play Hearts. Excellent card game. But I have the bringbacks memorized. Yo, did you watch Best Ball Jeopardy? You're damn right I got the bringbacks memorized. You're damn fucking right. I don't need no overlay. Slow Puppy. Fuck no. Fuck no. All right, let me do the last 2 team reviews and then we'll draft. I promise you. But Game Type had the 101. Always an interesting choice on where to go at the 101, especially with me kind of bullying him at times, trying to get ahead of some roster construction decisions. Let's take an interesting peek under the hood. We got Caleb, Jared Goff, and then the fun value on Kyler, 10 picks past. That will be valuable. The elite quarterback room, always nice for the advance rate, but finishing top 3, maybe it's not as critical. Perhaps may have spent a little too much. Definitely a lot. I decided to stop with just 2. I did not take Kyler. You did. Jahmyr Gibbs, you went Travis at the 2-3 turn. I went with wide receiver. You also have Brian Robinson, though, as your RB3. That's a steep drop-off, bro. Let's not sugarcoat it. That is a steep drop-off. And mostly contingent upside, not as much guaranteed. But you also have Kamara, should have a role early in the season. I expect him to play at this point. it probably happens. Also, 10 picks past ADP. That's not bad. But Katron, also pretty viable bet. I think Katron saves you, brother. I think Katron is very important on this build. The running back room with Gibbs, you can risk it, but let's be honest, there is some risk here. Receiver though has Olave, JMO, Marvin Harrison, number 3. Good luck with Botox lips, but Casey Concepcion, Jawan Jennings, Jalen Naylor, Isaac Tesla, and Troy Franklin. So, okay, the double New Orleans bet is kind of interesting, especially without the Bijan bringback. You do have Brian Robinson, but I guess maybe you're making the bet. Maybe Bijan goes down. Yeah, receiver, I don't like very much. Like, I don't know how you feel about Concepcion, but not the most conviction on that pick. Harrison scares the fuck out of me. I'd rather go Michael Wilson at this point, 30 picks later. And then JMO's just so inconsistent at times. Even though he has the spikes, he also has a lot of games with some duds. He can disappear. And I'm not going to lie, this receiver room scares me quite a bit. I don't know how I feel if it's confident enough to get out of here. But tight end will hit the flex a lot. You got Loveland, Laporta. That was the cost of taking Laporta and the expensive quarterbacks. The running back depth is lacking, and the receiver depth gets shaky. So I'm hopeful that Laporta and Loveland just crush so much. I know your quarterback room is going to be lit, so we're good with that. It's just, how will the flex position turn out? An injury to Travis can derail you. Travis and Kamara is also, I'm just noticing that now. There's a lot of Saints on this team. Kind of caps the upside a little bit on Travis and Kamara. I worry more that you're going to get more like really even fantasy outputs rather than like one spike that alternates between the two. I don't love this team. Not going to lie. There's some big risk factors. Good luck, Game Tight. I'm rooting for you, but always tough from the 101. A little scary, but then the major strengths of this team are absolutely staring you in the face. Quarterback and tight end, no doubt, is elite. Good luck. We also got Mr. Schwaggins in here. Dildo Schwaggins, 69. Goes with a 2.682. He had the 10th pick with Patty Mahomes and Jackson Dart. Fine with that at quarterback. Obviously some injury concern, but Mahomes can put up top 3 numbers and on the season, and then Jackson Dart any given week can be a top 3 play. We got really strong at running back, at least double anchor feels great. We got Taylor and Kenneth Walker. Counting on those two is the main bet here, but for the price, I hate JCM at 111, and I'm also not happy to be taking Tyrone Tracy at 135. I get the arguments for them, but they don't sell me. I am actually heavily fading these two players. I think the opportunity cost on Tyrone Tracy has not accounted for the true optimism of Scatterbo staying healthy. And while maybe he's a consistent pass catcher, they don't have many of them in New York. I just don't think 135 is where he should be going. I think he needs to fall. And until he does, I'm not taking him there myself. But Ray Davis and Mike Washington, some high-end upside handcuffs. Very contingent, though, on some injuries. Good luck at running back. I think Taylor and Walker, though, could just be good enough where it really doesn't matter. If one of these guys hits, when the money is made, you could be in business. Finishing top 3 with that running back room isn't the worst proposition. But receiver with Ladd, number 1, Egbuka, pretty solid combo. Christian Watson, number 3, always feels decent. A little injury risk, but otherwise high upside. Coker, number 4, is a little mid. Not the most consistent, but valuable. I prefer him as a wide receiver 5. Number 4 is a little scary. But Ladd maybe saves you. Trey Tucker, Trey Harris, the double Trey, I'm starting to think is actually a little overrated on both of them, to be honest. Maybe more notably Trey Harris, but Tucker isn't the most consistent in terms of double-digit points. He had the one massive point game last season, and then not that many over 10 otherwise. But new situation, new quarterback, far better play calling. He will be on the field. He's a decent bet. I'm not as worried about Tucker. More so Trey Harris, the more I've thought about it over the last couple days. I have a lot of Trey Harris. It's not feeling the best, in all honesty. Torrey Horton and Devon Vele, pretty legit late round picks. I actually love these last two. These two feel excellent, not going to lie. But tight end is phenomenal. Tyler Warren and Travis Kelce. The Kelce stack with Mahomes also pretty sweet. The Lad McConkey bring back, very nice. You do not have a Cowboy on this team, so no bring back for Dart. But if you're building out the Mahomes bring back, in theory, you don't need a Cowboy because Dart's on the bench. Anyways, all right. Interesting team. Definitely some flaws. Running back depth for sure. And then maybe just like no true number one alpha receiver every week, but like high enough upside where it does piece together. Honestly, the receiver room feels pretty good given the draft capital. Like when I saw Coker at 4, I was a little worried. But honestly, in totality, I think that checks out. It's mainly just the running back depth. But legitimately, there's a world where you don't need it. Quarterback, though, could go down. That could be the Achilles heel of the roster. But fun one, Mr. Schwaggins. Cheers to you. Hopefully we see you again sometime in another lobby. But that's going to be it for this one. We're entering the Fast Puppy now. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. We got a Saturn emoji and the puff clouds. Love to see it. Hell yeah, woke up to a rip. Yo, Anthony, if anything, you should take another one. I have to repack the bowl, though. We'll do it after we enter this lobby. But Bam just subbed for the rip. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for popping in, and welcome to the chat. Yeah, you don't have access to the chat until you're a subscriber, so appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. And now I will take my rip and do some fast puppies. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just in the reverse order, actually. But Schwaggins, I have too many inconsistent / spike week type guys for this format. I didn't hate it. Receiver felt possibly a little mid, but there's enough swings for the fence. I didn't mind it. I did not mind it. Running back was definitely inconsistent, but up top, so top heavy. Who cares? I'm in a Mania draft right now, and with an E Silva, think it's Evan Silva. I do not know what his handle actually is, but wouldn't shock me at all. All right, let's rip the fast puppy. We're counting it down. I hope you're ready. We're drafting in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Instafill, not surprising. This contest is going to go super, super fast. We're on the exact opposite end of the board. We have the 11th pick, so not quite the bookend, one pick away from it. Going to be a much different team for sure. But honestly, the Burgess and Dildo Schwaggins in at 6 and 7 are kind of the only picks I recognize. Oh, actually, I think Wes91 might be in here as well. If Wes is watching, let me know at the 103. I think we've drafted with Wes before, possibly as well this evening. So, not that many of y'all, but excited for this one. The Instafill, gonna be tough. These this contest has been really, really popping off today. But yeah, it's definitely that kind of night. Let me pack the bowl so we can let it rip. But boy, I'm happy about that team. Actually, I need to go in and label that one. Let me do that in a separate window while this goes. But completed drafts. We were just in the Bulldog. That was my highest entry contest. I've entered in one Bulldog, one Frenchie 2, one Frenchie 4. Otherwise, I have not entered into any other contests for $100 or higher. But all right, the Bulldog was live streamed July 9th. $50-50 Angus. And then we had the Chargers and Niners. Let's go. All right. This draft is underway. We are 7 picks in. I have pick 11. Very excited for this fast puppy. But if it's him, he'll hate that I just took Scatabo. I would hate that you snipe me on Scatabo. I don't want you sniping me on Scatabo. Never. Don't you ever do that. I'll go James Cook today. I feel like I don't take him enough. It's not that I don't like him. I just feel like I don't take him very often. I also, the one pick I don't get compared to the other ones in terms of my percentages is actually pick 12. It's actually pick 12. I haven't had many pick 12s. And that's where Cook goes. So that's the main reason. Not because I don't like him. It's more so my pick distribution. But it's not the end of the world. I have a shit ton of Cook with Hampton. So I'm going to go Cook with Ken Walker. I do like that quite a bit. We also mix up the bye weeks. The double week 7 bye is never a death sentence at running back. But you don't draft a ton of running backs, especially when you start off RB. It's not like my favorite strategy to end up with 6. If anything, stopping at 4 isn't the end of the world. But to only have 5 players at a certain position and 2 of them that you drafted at the top of the lobby both be out in the same game, I do fear a massive... What would the opposite of a spike week be? I fear an implosion week. I fear a week where you have like close to 70 points. That scares the shit out of me in best ball. And if you told me you just never have a chance to like properly, adequately catch up in terms of running back depth, and you're stuck with Cook and Hampton week 7, and maybe it's not that they're bad, but like maybe they just don't quite live up to the billing every single week. Maybe on the season they're just a little bit less productive than you would have thought, but like they can still win it all for you in week 17 hypothetically. Like Hampton goes against the Chiefs, not the best matchup, but should be a shootout. And then Cook goes against the Dolphins. I know for a fact Cook is going off that week, so that should be pretty sweet. The Chargers' run defense has historically been pretty dog shit. It's been better with Jim Harbaugh, but not elite by any stretch of the imagination. I could definitely see Walker be a little more valuable than Hampton week 17. If anything, I've talked myself into drafting Ken Walker above Hampton, possibly over the last 48 hours. I've mulled it over. There's a world where it might be the right pick. As much as I love the upside on Hampton, to never acknowledge the downside and the floor is also not very wise. Not the best move, but hate the middle shots. Yuck. You go with Lamb and London. Interesting. That's not the most common pair, so that should be fun. James Cook, Ashton Genty would have been very exciting, but Genty went at pick 10, so it was never on the table. What is the orange shield on Underdog? I believe the orange shield, which is Wes's team at the 103, I believe that's a bronze shield. I believe bronze is the color, and bronze is what you get at 2,000 drafts. I just hit like 1,500. So I am still in the red badge territory. When I get the next badge, it will be bronze. But it's going to be a long time if I see the badge after that. I would imagine it's probably going to be a minute before I hit 5K. But ADP says Kyron Williams. It's not a massive fall, though. I think I'd rather just have T. Higgins, in all honesty. Would have loved Ladd McConkey, but at least today in this contest, he's going well in the middle of the third. Firmly been pulled up today in the 3rd round. Interesting that T. Higgins is kind of staying put. I'll be fine with that. Wow, Kyron's still here. It is rather tempting, not gonna lie. Rather tempting. Over Neighbors for sure. Fuck it, I'll do it. I'll take Kyron. We start off triple running back. Not gonna take one for a minute, but the next turn has some viable running backs. Plus, Scataba was already taken. That would have been my only other pivot at running back. But receiver was kind of the safer play there. But the fall on Kyron in round 4 feels pretty legit. Anthony says the overflow has game tight and super. That makes sense. Wouldn't be surprised if y'all are in the overflow at all. But Jack Dog asking, did you see Scataba's no hair? I did see that today. Yeah, the part down the middle, the side-by-side picture, it looks like he got cloned and like something went wrong. It's like a Bizarro universe type of picture. But yeah, interesting move. If he likes it, you know, who am I to judge? But anyways, speaking of which, let's light something on fire. Maybe not our hairdo, but let's take a rip, shall we? Let's do it. All right. Austin says, Chase Brown, CMC, top 3 running backs this season. Let's roll. Maybe in full PPR. I could maybe see that in full PPR. I don't know if I'm going top 3 on Chase Brown. Maybe top 5 in full PPR. But you also are the one who took Ladd. And so far we got the same build. The RB, wide receiver RB. Javonte at pick 43. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm happy to get Kyron, though. Feels pretty lit. I'll be honest. I'd rather have Kyron than Javonte. Among the 2 Williams, I think I'd rather have Kyron despite the split backfield. But there's a world where both of them kind of suck. Javonte, though, injury history in the past. He just got paid, so will he be as motivated? Last year, he was in a contract season. I could see it blow up in his face. Could see him suck. Or just miss a lot of time. But last year was so good, it probably checks out. At least while Jaden Blue's still free, I think right now I'm more inclined to take Jaden Blue. Because there's a world where Jaden Blue, like, massively rises up the board. With positive camp reports, that could happen. If that's going to be the case, then Javonte will fall like he did today. But even further. Even further. But Mr. Schwaggins, about to show y'all something. He took 5 straight receivers. Not going to lie, Quinshon Judkins kind of speaking to me here. I'm kind of tempted to go with 4 straight. Or at least 4 out of 5, and just stop. You know what? We're going to have a lot of different teams in the puppy. Fuck it. Y'all are going to let it happen. I'll take Quinshon at pick 59. We'll piece it together. I'll find a way to make this work. But Brian Thomas Jr. goes to Deasterly. I'm hopeful I get Carnell Tate here. If he's available, I think it's a pretty sweet value. He goes Burrow unstacked. I don't give a shit about that. I think he was upset that I sniped Quinshon. I think he was mad about Quinshon or something. Because that... Go ahead. I don't give a fuck about that. You want Burrow at 61 unstacked? That's gross. I don't even want him unstacked at like 74. No thanks. I was not going to take him there. Maybe had he sniped me on Carnell Tate, I might have like panic clicked him. But definitely don't rank Burrow this high at all. Burrow's going too expensive. For a quarterback that doesn't run the ball at all. Maybe not at all, but like basically never. Not in a reliable way. I don't see it. when you don't have either Higgins or Jamar Chase. I think that there was some bitterness there. It's not even taking the cheese. Like, it's just like deciding to land on the mousetrap before the cheese has even been put on it. Like, imagine you're a mouse and like somebody puts an empty mousetrap right in front of the, you know, the entryway, and like they're gearing up to get the cheese out of the fridge, and you're just like, oh, it's gonna come. It's gonna be there when I land on this thing. I've seen it before. It's gonna be there. I'm gonna be so fast for it. There's not even an enticing reason to step on the trap. Why take Burrow there? Why not take Jaden Daniels? Why not take Drake May or even Jalen Hurts? Burrow at 61 unstacked is pretty fucking wild. Unless you just have like massive convictions on Andre Yoshivas this season, or Mike Gesicki, or maybe Eric All is going to deliver, but all of the combos have left the stable. There's no stacking partner with Burrow eligible. It's weird. If it was at the other bookend, then maybe I'd understand it just on like sheer ADP value. You know, how often is he gonna be there at pick 73? But at 61, what's the point? I've taken him unstacked at 75, or no, 74. At 74, I've taken him unstacked, and it feels wrong. It feels kind of dumb. Definitely not taking Chuba, that's for sure. I kind of want to go Kraft, honestly. I kind of feel like Kraft has some of the best value here, but I'll probably get a good tight end later. I'm going to go Jaden Reed instead, just because I think structurally getting receiver might be a little bit more valuable here. Typically at 107, I can still get like Kyle Pitts, but Kraft is probably much better than Kyle Pitts. And now I just have a double Packers bet. Yeah, that checks out. We can get Jordan Love later. So we'll do that. Unless the Christian Watson drafter snipes me. Someone's got to take him just to set up Golden. I don't think that'll happen. So if anything, our next pick, we're not taking Jordan Love, the team behind us. I mean, who knows? Maybe he goes Love unstacked. But if I go Golden at 107, I think I can get Love at 110. But predicting pick 12, I think is a lost cause. Not just Burrow, but also Dak Prescott unstacked. Doubling down, grabbing Chuba Hubbard. This is he has Saquon. Like 4 of the top 5 picks, I think are great. I like the Jefferson pick. I like the Egbuka pick. Scatterbo, Brian Thomas. I've been open to clicking Saquon more lately. So I really have no fault with the top 5. The last 3 picks, don't like it. Even Chuba Hubbard at 84. I think it's too expensive. He needs to fall further. Austin Burgess. Can't wait for Olave to break down this year and Jordan Tyson finishes top 10. Rookie top 10 finish is your prediction. Damn, that's a bold stance. I don't know about that. I could see top 20. I could see top 30 possibly, even with a healthy Olave. But without Olave, I could see top 20 for Tyson. Top 15, I think, is kind of pushing it. Top 10, that'd be pretty shocking. I think 12 slot guy is brand new to this. I mean, he doesn't have any badge, of course, so that could be a factor. He's on the Venn diagram for sure with no badge, but I'm not totally convinced that badgeless people don't know what they're doing. This is a compelling argument, though. This is definitely a compelling argument. The Burrow 61, Dak Prescott 85, both unstacked. Pretty weird. So I wouldn't say thank you for your donation yet. I like the team from like just a raw points perspective. Like there's a world where he still advances, you know, out of the pod. But you're telling me you make it to the final with Burrow unstacked and Dak Prescott unstacked, or maybe he gets Ferguson at least, but like, you know, Burrow's probably not winning you the contest unstacked. But if you can make the final with him unstacked, that's pretty interesting. That's I guess what you're hoping for. And who knows? Maybe there's some meta behind that I'm dismissing, but I think just from like a logical standpoint, it's pretty fucking weird. Okay, but we can move off of Team 12 and the last two picks. But I think the only thing I'm worried about is just getting sniped randomly. But if anything, I should just let him take Jordan Love if that's who he really wants. If he's listening and he's like, fuck you, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to snipe you on Jordan Love. Maybe that's also possible to happen. ADP says Michael Wilson. This feels like a Jordan Love team. I think I'm going to get Golden on the way back. So I'll take Love first. I really got no idea what Deasterly's about to do here. He goes Kittle. Did not see that happening. I guess it's the highest ranked tight end, I suppose. And Golden, of course. If anything, Golden would have been overkill on this team. Michael Wilson at 110. Come on down. Sure. Why not? I don't need running back. That's definitely not the most important position. This team has a double stack in Green Bay with Reed and Kraft, so Love is definitely the bet I'm making. I don't like Love week 17 against Houston, but if he is maybe the piece you need stacked. You know what? Maybe Deasterly knows what he's doing. Maybe that's definitely the better option. He gets the bring back at least with Dak and Scatabo. Those two picks in a vacuum are weird, but otherwise I don't hate the team that the Team 12 is setting up otherwise than the unstacked. But yes, this is ultimately the point of contention. But Everin Flux says there's a lot of innuendo on the people's avatars, so he is in the 2-hole. Hugh G. Cox is in the 2-hole. No doubt about it. Let's recap the team. We got Jordan Love, a phenomenal running back room, James Cook, Ken Walker, Kyron Williams, and Quinshon Judkins. We're also stopping at 4 running backs. There's also that aspect of this team. I'm done with that. But receiver has T. Higgins, Carnell Tate, Jaden Reed, and Michael Wilson. Tight end has Tucker Kraft. The quarterback room could look better, but we're not out of the woods yet. We still got some time, still got some options. And there's definitely a decent stacking partner available at the next turn. But sniping you on both Dak and George Kittle definitely in this lobby. Yeah, once you said he didn't know what he was doing, he's probably watching. Am I doing another? Let's take a look at the likes on this one. We got 23 likes, 46 watchers, so that's a 50% ratio. That's pretty dope, but if we get 10 more likes, how about this? 33 likes, we'll lock in one more draft, but if you want to say thank you, 35 likes would just be like the icing on the cake. 35 likes would be nice. 33, we'll lock in one more fast puppy. How about that? I'll be pretty strictly drafting in the fast puppy for a while. Not gonna lie, but I've been wanting to take more Dalton Kincaid. If you're going to let him fall to me here, I will just accept that and move on. I could easily see Deasterly sniping me, though, at quarterback. He goes Ferguson for the stack. I got no clue what this pick is going to be, though. Legitimately wouldn't shock me at all if it's an unstacked Ward. But it makes no sense. Yeah, he is totally watching. It is the risk I was willing to take ultimately. But in that case, at this point, we just say, fuck it. True upside, and we push and just keep on chugging. Here's the thing. I got my stack. Team 12 doesn't. But we're just going to build out the starting roster and make it work. But boy, what could have been from like a long-term structural standpoint, Jefferson, Saquon, Egbuka, Scatabo, BTJ is a pretty lit start, but then just kind of like a weird unstacked move there. Chuba, we just don't like in general. And then, yeah, just like spite picks on Golden and Ward, for sure. Very fun to witness. But it's really not the end of the world. It's really not. There's still a lot of rounds left to go. We're rocking the 1-4-5-2, and Jordan Love is our savior, basically, at quarterback. But I could be done at tight end if I really wanted to. Odds are I'm not. I'll probably take 3 still. But really elite upside there. And then receivers coming together so far. Not too bad. But running backs so strong. That in and of itself is also a major advancing piece. Getting a reliable running back in the flex every week with 2 studs. Also a pretty safe way to likely finish towards the top of the room. Injuries can affect anyone, but running back scarcity, never something you want to be on the wrong side of the board with. But since my pick, we see likely come off the board Dallas Goedert, Chig Okonkwo. High price on Okonkwo there. He just keeps rising. Is that with Daniels? It is. In that regard, it makes sense, but that's really the only justification I see for it. I think Okonkwo is starting to go a little higher than I would like. I think him in the same round as Goddard, I think is not very close at all in terms of upside. Like, obviously Goddard could just get hurt and you can say I told you so, but from a week-to-week standpoint, Okonkwo has never really shown he can drop 20 points like that, the way Goddard can. But, yo, Wilson, what's up? Appreciate you for joining us today. Welcome in, and thank you for liking as well. Right here, though, if Daniel Jones is going to fall to 155, we'll just take him here. There's a nice little backstack opportunity potential. And then I'll probably... I might just take Rodgers, to be honest here. Like, this is my, like, true rank on him, basically. I have him at 160 in my ranks. It's 158. And I'm not totally sure I need the other positions as much. Love Tank Bigsby, but, like, for the sake of what I need, let's just advance with the points. I am definitely building a 3-4-8-3 in the first place. So if this lobby is going to set up some tough options and some snipes that are unnecessary, so be it. The fall on Daniel Jones is pretty sweet. Daniel Jones was putting up top 10 numbers until he went down. And while obviously his rushing value goes down, probably not going to be a big part of his game, It wasn't really critical for him last year. It was more so just touchdown production and a really good fit in a good offensive scheme. It's not like his arm got blown out, so there's an argument that Daniel Jones is one of the most valuable picks on the board, at least at the quarterback position, just like he was last year. It's possible he's going as quarterback, at least in this draft, he went as quarterback 27, or maybe it was 26. I think it's 26. I took Rodgers, I think, as QB 27 off the board. But looks like we got up to 35 likes. Appreciate that for everyone tuning in. And we're about to come up on 11 p.m. Pacific time, and we got 50 people watching a live stream. I hope if you're not West Coasters, you, at this point, you're just staying up all night. At this point. But I guess that's not too late. It's only 2 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. Some people, though, don't work at the typical times. Some people never sleep for a fast puppy. When puppy? 2 a.m. Eastern time. That's when I'm drafting my puppies. That's when I like to do it. There's a chance that you get the drunk crowd at this stage of the evening on the East Coast. There's a chance you get the stoners. Obviously, I am one of them. But on top of that, there's sleep deprivation involved. I think being a West Coast drafter at this time of day is one of the few possible advantages you can get sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's a significant advantage. Wouldn't say that. But Ever in Flux believes, at least in this lobby, it's a 2 out of 11. I'm not sure he's paying the rake. I think he could get his money back. I think he could get his money back. His team is decently built otherwise. Just unstacked quarterbacks are kind of odd and very gauche, as Davis Maddock would say. French for... Does anyone know what gauche is French for? If the chat knows, I'd be impressed. I know, but how about I give y'all a chance not to spoil it? Odds are I'm getting sniped regardless, so I'm just going to take Freiermuth first. If there's one stack I'd rather have, it's Freiermuth. And Deasterly might do whatever the fuck he wants. If he takes Jeremy Bernard, honestly, be my guest. Take Jeremy, bro. Take Jeremy. Do it. Do it. He goes, Malik Washington. My rank, though, says Debo by a fucking mile. You took Malik Washington over Debo? Love it. Love Debo here at 182. Jeremy, I'm starting to wonder, maybe isn't worth it. Also, shout out Maddock. I think I heard him talking about this earlier today or something. But in general, I always kind of worried about Jeremy's landing spot ever since draft day. I had a lot of Jeremy from a prospect profile. I liked him a lot. And I still like that about him. But really, the Rodgers rookie receiver, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the bet I really want to make. I feel good about Michael Pittman. I don't feel like Metcalf is falling off at all. They have $50 million combined, more than that really, between Metcalf and Pittman. Also, draft picks were used to get those players. The Steelers are really trying to run this thing into the ground, ride it till the wheels fall off. They have no real regard for the long term in terms of draft capital at wideout. But will Bernard pop year one with a veteran Aaron Rodgers in what we expect? Anything's possible, but what we expect to be his swan song in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy. But, yo, what's up, Fancy Dog? Thank you for popping in. Number 31 like. Looks like we're up to 37 at the moment. Really appreciate everyone for popping in and hitting that like. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe. If you're Deasterly, subscribe and let me know what the thought process was on the Burrow and Dak selection. You did get the back stack with Jake Ferguson. You could get the back stack with Mike Gesicki, your fourth tight end, possibly. But if I had to guess, we're seeing Andre Yoshivas with one of these last two picks. Austin Burgess is Malik Willis is getting drafted around the same area as Jaden Daniels was 2 years ago. I would say he's a little bit cheaper, maybe like a round and a half, something like that. 2 rounds and a round and a half. A little cheaper, perhaps, but rushing value definitely there. Smoke time? Sure, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, Wilson, I always assumed you just lived in Georgia. I always just assumed you would definitely be in the Atlanta vicinity, but at work in Texas, cheers to you, brother. Cheers at this time. But best ball on call, 2 a.m. puppy. You know it. Mr. Mufasa, what's good, Adam? Hit the like, everyone. Appreciate that. Keep promising my wife I'll go to bed at by 2 a.m. Lied again. I mean, at some point, you got to stop lying to yourself, Keith. At some point, you got to stop lying to yourself and catch up on the sleep. Bernard fell back. I guess. Pick 203 on Jeremy. I'm not in love with it. If anything, I kind of want to let D. Sturley take him. But it is good value. Let's not pretend it's not at 203. And it is stacked, I suppose. If I'm going to take him, why not? The value, 20 picks, was ultimately there. This last pick, though, definitely a receiver. And the plan is to get the back stack. He goes Tyreek Hill. I don't mind that at all. But especially on this team with the hopes of Keenan landing in Indy. Here's the thing. If Keenan doesn't, I think Debo will. I think Debo wants to play for a good team while also being involved heavily and like used properly. I think Shane Steichen can definitely use him properly. But I think he would fit their scheme decently well. And I do believe that the Colts are interested in someone, especially because they're a little bit worried about Alec Pierce's availability for week 1. But Keenan was in the rumor mill, linked to the Colts. He could really go anywhere that would be positive. So mixing him in round 18, definitely not a bad move in general, but especially on a Daniel Jones unstacked team. I have some outs where Daniel Jones is actually stacked up on this one with a signing of Debo or Keenan. The plan was always Keenan, but a 19 pick fall on Debo. I'm not going to pass that up. That's the ADP where Bernard was going, but we take him at 203. Pretty solid. I think this team is really fun. Honestly, quarterback could be a little bit better, of course, but who did we miss out on? Who did you guys... I got sniped on Cam Ward. I got a shit ton of Cam Ward. It would have been sweet with Cardinal Tate, of course. But Shaheed might help the team a little bit more from a structural standpoint as opposed to what? We would have taken Boston instead. Ward versus Rodgers. I could see Rodgers be more valuable than Ward. It's definitely possible as well. I got a lot of both of them. So it is what it is. The fall on Daniel Jones was pretty clutch. Not going to lie. Of all the quarterbacks that could have fallen back there, I would have taken Bryce Young. I would have taken Darnold. I would have taken Stroud. But of all of them, Jones would be my next highest ranked after Cam Ward. So happy about that. Very happy about it. But maybe I won't let it go. Maybe I've dragged it out too much. Maybe it's been spoken about a little too much. Austin says, the team I just drafted here is probably one of my favorite teams I've drafted this year by far. This is awesome. We'll take a look at your team, Burgess. You and Schwaggins were the only ones who announced themselves in the chat. So if anybody else wants a team review, let me know. But Burgess at the 106, we'll take a peek for sure. Some of the falls in the Fast Puppy today have been loco. Is this the normie effect? You know what? That's definitely a big factor. Post July 4th, $5 draft. Yeah, especially in the fast lobby. For sure. Liking what I see late, I would agree. It has been decent. And this team is pretty interesting, especially the Kyron Williams in the 4th is not bad at all. Born in Oregon, never been east of Texas, became a Falcons fan when they drafted Michael Vick. It's crazy how often the Falcons fandom is linked to Michael Vick, and y'all are fucking loyal. Like, of all players to be like devoutly loyal to on a team that like consistently chokes, despite making, a couple Super Bowls though. Look, man, the 2004 Atlanta Falcons were fucking insane. Like that was a time to be alive. I'll tell you. So I don't play Madden on my PlayStation anymore. I have actually gone back to the PS2 that I still have and still runs, and I play NFL Game Day 2004. It's a video game that came out to compete with Madden at the time, and holy shit, is Michael Vick the fucking cheat code. They did nuke him with his fumbling though on that game. It's kind of funny. If you play as Michael Vick, you will be dominating and then just randomly fumble 3 fucking times to close out the second half. The game nukes him in that regard, but it's because Madden had Vick on the cover and that game had LaDainian Tomlinson on the cover, and LT is a fucking cheat code as well. That season, LT versus Michael Vick. Who you want to play as in Madden? It's a pretty fun proposition with either one. But okay, let's take a look at Burgess's team. Let's take a look. He had the 106, and he did rave about his start in the beginning with CMC Chase Brown. His quarterback room has Justin Herbert and Malik Willis. I'm not going to lie, I was hopeful to get Malik Willis myself. So to stop there at 2, I trust Justin Herbert that much. You also have him paired with Ladd McConkey. So excellent stack and a viable enough strategy, especially if Malik does turn out as good as Jaden Daniels. To be overweight on Malik Willis is not the worst bet. Definitely a viable take. That's for sure, given his rushing ability. But Christian McCaffrey hopefully stays healthy as long as that checks out. He's always the right pick in the 1st. Chase Brown, excellent in the 2nd. Javonte in the 4th. 7-pick fall, pretty decent. This might be the new norm if Jaden Blue, though, ends up picking up a bunch of steam. That is possible, but right now, his ADP is at the end of the 3rd round. Travion Henderson, always excited about that, especially RB4, feels sweet. Rachaad White, though, coming in with the floor. Because Travion is so volatile, I don't mind it. However, there is an argument that you took too many, because 4 in the top 5 is quite a lot. I stopped with 4 in the top 5, but grabbing Rachaad White is safe, but could just be too much draft capital. Like, if this was a quarterback, maybe I would like this team a little bit better, because you can definitely stop at 4 when you have that. How often is Rachaad actually hitting the lineup? But Ladd McConkey, Jordan Tyson, Michael Pittman, Casey Concepcion, Travis Hunter, Ryan Flournoy, Zachariah Branch, and Torrey Horton. So to love this team involves some strong takes. You did tell us Tyson was going to be top 10, so definitely could work out. I like Pittman from a value standpoint, but receiver 3 sometimes feels a little bit thin, especially with Tyson number 2. And then hopefully Ladd McConkey doesn't bust like he did last year. I believe he'll pay off, so I like the pull-up myself, but not going to lie. Hunter number 5, you might be actually counting on him on this team. And then Flournoy, elite upside, but not the most consistent target share. That could change this season, though. Branch should have the target share as optimistic as we can get about a rookie. But then Torrey Horton, a pretty viable pick as well. Like that you have 8, definitely needed 8. But some bold takes need to work out. I think you're actually very much counting on Casey Concepcion. That feels gross. But Gadsden stacks up, Greg Dulcich, and David Njoku. The double Charger tight end. Hopefully Kolar doesn't fuck you over. But Greg Dulcich, a pretty solid value as well. I think it checks out. It's a little cute at tight end. And just like overall, like I said, I think the Rashad click might be a little unnecessary. And as much as I like the quarterback room, if you told me, let's see, I guess the stack you had available, if Purdy was on the board and you took Rashad White, I think that was a mistake. But yeah, he was. I think you should have taken Purdy over Rashad White. I think Purdy helps you much more. From a true upside standpoint, Rashad is just kind of like, okay, what if we miss some time from these guys up top? We have a good option, but I think Purdy was the click, personally. I prefer, with this much draft capital at running back, given today's market, I think I prefer the 3-4-8-3 than the 2-5-8-3 myself. But I respect the conviction. I hope Tyson works out well enough. I think there's a little bit too much counting on Tyson and Concepcion. The rookies have to pay off. And obviously, that's never a guarantee. Otherwise, though, we had Mr. Schwaggins right next to him. We got Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, and Michael Penix. Definitely fits on a Dildo Schwaggins team. A 199, Michael Penix. But I don't think you totally needed him. Hopefully it stacks, but Caleb and Purdy might be good enough to stop there. Jalen Warren, Dobbins, Aaron Jones. That doesn't feel that exciting. A lot of injury concern here. Rodriguez, I think, will be fine, so pretty critical RB4, if you ask me. No, like, elite number one to speak of. But Pacheco in Detroit needs a Gibbs injury. We're betting on a Bijan injury as well. We got Katron, though, and Malik Davis, so not buying the Jaden Blue hype. I do like the Katron click tremendously. But, wow, 186 on Katron. You felt the pressure. Definitely an 8 running backs here with Katron 186. Haven't seen him go that high. If anything, Katron's been falling, despite how much I like him. But CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, and Rome Odunze. You stopped with 5. Hopefully 2 of them don't get injured. But maybe just one getting hurt could be an issue. Probably not, though. Honestly, receiver might work. Receiver might work, but only Juwan Johnson and AJ Barner. So yeah, once again, kind of missing that like truly elite upside. I like this team a little bit better if I don't know. We have like Colston Loveland on the team. Like, there's just like some upside that I think is lacking. Like, upside can't strictly be from quarterback and receiver. I guess it can, but like running back just feels so floor play driven. You need some heavy boost because it's not reliably coming from tight end. So quarterback just has to crush. Penix with London only had like 1 usable game last season with over 24 points. Yeah. Odd team. Very strange. Running back has volume, but no, like, it has no tooth. It feels toothless a little bit at running back. You're very dependent on a multi-touchdown game, and not the most pass-catching prowess either. Good luck, Schwaggins. Good luck. The complete opposite strategy. I had only 4 running backs. You had 8. Good luck. Okay. During the team reviews, I kind of take a pause from the chat. So let me try to catch up I think we got up to this point. If you didn't get sniped on deck, this was a perfect 0 RB. But literally no reason to go east of the Mississippi. I don't know about that, man. Okay. I was probably 16 or 17 when he got drafted, so just stuck with them. That's fair. The loyalty usually is the way most people go. Why take white when you got 4 RBs early in the 5th? I know that was the one pivot point. I might have shifted, especially with CMC and Brock Purdy. But 5 RBs because I truly think there will be more running back injuries this year. Just a lotto game, in my opinion. I suppose that's fair. That's legit. If you can, theoretically, if you can be one of the few teams that advances Christian McCaffrey to the playoffs, that should be sweet. I worry that if McCaffrey goes down, he's just not coming back on the field, though. I think either the Niners are in the playoffs or they're winning 6 games. There's not really an in-between. So a lot hinges on McCaffrey's health. I don't know if he would get hurt, have a low advance rate, and then be like a skeleton key because nobody else has him, and Rachaad White saved you. That is kind of hard to believe. But maybe it could happen with one of those other ones. Maybe Chase Brown is the guy that you need like that. But my projections have Willis being top 10 overall and 4-point passing touchdowns personally. It could definitely happen. I think it's possible, but I think you're a little too optimistic on the Dolphins' upside. I would push back on that. I think top 10 any given week for sure. Can he drop 30 points? Yeah, sure. On the season, I know that the rushing points are so much more valuable in 4-point passing, but I don't know. I don't see top 10 from the Dolphins with McDaniel leaving. I just don't see that given their weapons. Maybe Stephon Diggs changes something. Maybe Greg Dulcich really is the piece. Maybe Achane offers 1,000 receiving yards or something. But boy, that's a little too high for my taste. He goes at quarterback 21. So if he's that valuable, I guess you should take him in every draft. But having Purdy saves you from the world where he sucks because it's the Dolphins. All right, we're going to be drafting in the Fast Puppy. We will hop in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. We got a fresh lobby. If you were in the pre-flow, apologies, but I had the first entry in this one. So going to be a full friends and family, hopefully not too many randos. But there was definitely an extra 8 or so seconds to join in the queue. So let's shout out anyone who made it. We have Underdog's Anonymous A-Rod at the 101. We got Buddy Man at the 102. Super Beast at the 103. Spurs in the house at the 104. Biggest Truz at the 105. Burgess makes it in again at the 106. And then Alex 588 at the 107. I believe the highest ranked badge. Oh no, Game Tight still has the highest ranked badge. But Alex, over 2,000 drafts cumulative. We got Aldo Nielva right next to us at pick 8. I believe we've drafted with him several times before. Mr. Mufasa, welcome in. Lion King. Jedi Niner, member of the Blunt Rotation at pick 11. And then Game Tight at pick 12. Legitimately a full lobby. Maybe Alex 588 or Biggest Truz if I'm just like not remembering properly, but I believe it's everyone. I believe literally 12 of 12. It's possible. But stacked with Dulcich as well. Yeah, the stack, I mean, if Malik Willis is going to hit that top 10, Dulcich going to fucking smash. So, yeah, you might as well take both of them. From an affordability standpoint, I have no issue with the Malik Willis click. I have no issue with the Greg Dulcich pick. I just maybe am not as confident as you are that you will get top 10 on the year in total points. But if he gets 1,000 rushing yards, you know what? Tip of the cap. Definitely worth it. But what's up, MacNova? How we doing? Let's light it up. You know it. We're in to draft number 3. Let's do it. Not Dolphin upside, just Malik Willis upside. I genuinely don't know how... Oh, shit, I'm on the clock. It is my turn to draft. Sure, today I'll go Taylor. I'm going to draft a ton of puppies, so pivoting too far off ADP is not the sharpest move with more volume, but we did also get a 2-pick fall on Jonathan Taylor. I prefer Amon-Ra St. Brown in this spot, but not surprised he goes sooner. And then someone pulled up Genty, so if we were going to get a running back and be different, the better move is just take the discount rather than pull up someone like Saquon or Hampton or James Cook. But maybe James Cook, since he's technically still a first rounder, you could pull up if you really felt the conviction about it. ADP says Achane. My rank, however, says Chase Brown. I will stick with Chase Brown. The only reason my rank says Chase Brown and not Derrick Henry is because I have way more invested already in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and Hampton, Ken Walker, Chase Brown, by far my most drafted picks in the second round. Saquon is right around 8%. Hampton is the highest, but number 2 in my round 2 exposures is Derrick Henry, getting a few more Chase Brown shares. Never bad, but perhaps negating some of the price discount I got on Taylor. 2-pick fall on Taylor, 2-pick reach on Chase Brown. It's fairly irrelevant. But you missed this one. Almost 3 for 3. But good luck. I assume you would have been in the pre-flow. But made it in. What's up, Anthony? Let's go. You took Puka in London. The only reason I don't love that isn't as much about the receiver start these days, but more so it feels so common. Puka Bowers, Puka London is going to be very common, but it also just feels correct if you're going to be stuck with the receiver click there. London is probably the right move, because sometimes Rashee Rice still falls back at 28. If Rashee Rice was never falling back, then I might just take him there. But London, definitely going to smash. No doubt about it. Much safer pick. Much younger, and 11 targets per week is pretty much on lock. But good luck, Mike McCullough. Good luck, buddy, man. You took Bijan, Pickens, and Jeremiah Love to start. In general, it's tough to get a little unique in the 1, 2, or 3 slot at the early part of the draft. Sometimes taking the ADP highest ranked players is also just the move. No issue with that. Don't feel great about the Jeremiah Love click, but paired with Bijan, you can probably afford it. And if you make it to the playoffs, his schedule is elite. But what's up, Quitter? Another South Park avatar. And I feel like we have maybe 5 different like reoccurring people in the chat with a South Park avatar. Always gonna get noticed by yours truly. But I'll take the fall on Chris Olave. Only 4 picks, but like I'm not that afraid of his blood clot concerns. Wow, Burgess goes Scatabo in the 3rd. I think it's... I guess Burgess watches the channel. I guess Burgess agrees. That's where I think Scatabo should go. I had a pick at 40. I assumed I'd probably get him there. But with Scatabo off the board, Olave feels like a smash pick. Tet McMillan over Olave. Definitely want Olave. So far, it's not a bad team, but no one's team is going to be bad this early. Mr. Jedi Loco, let's go. Let's go. I don't like going receiver round 1, but I didn't want to take CMC or Taylor again, so I went with the dome. Whiteout. St. Brown. It is my pick. I haven't gotten many shares of Igbokwe lately, and my ranking, in my heart, I do think Igbokwe is more valuable than Garrett Wilson. I think I need to adjust these ranks because, in all honesty, I've been trying them out, but like it's one of my first times this season actually setting rankings on Underdog, and there are some players I think I'm not getting enough of. But in general, like Igbokwe, I'd rather have Scatabo there. I worry could be a little overpriced, but never falls too far. So just mixing him in. He's been pulled up in the 3rd pretty often. And I still ultimately like him more than Tet McMillan. I'd rather have Igbokwe than Tet, to be honest. So pick 40 over Neighbors over Garrett Wilson is a discussion. But I think definitely over Luther Burden, definitely over Evans. And I think also over Waddle. But I'd rather not be invested in the Jets. And the Neighbors right now, not quite sure what to make of him. It looks very likely, pretty compelling argument, he will land on PUP. Odds are he misses a minimum 4 to 6 weeks on the PUP list. And once that it becomes official, he will just inherently fall even further. So I could have taken him there for sure, but I think grabbing Igbokwe, also a recent riser, not upset with that. But Mr. Burgess, my first St. Brown Bowers start. I will say I probably don't have too many of those. Amon-Ra, Bowers, Scatabo, and then Garrett Wilson at 43 does check out pretty nicely. You have 2 4th-round picks that will be unique, especially on a Bowers team. Like, the only other way you get this, if you have Bowers, is if you're drafting from, like, I guess pick 9, possibly, pick 10 if Amon-Ra fell. You could do it pretty easily. But the only other teams who have Bowers, Scatabo, and Garrett Wilson without reaching on him might be at, like, the 102 or the 103. Who knows? But in general, it's going to be very low owned. So, large field contest, I really don't mind it. Honestly, I got to say, respect on the Scatabo pick. He was probably not going to make it back to you in this lobby. Lamar falls to pick 57. Yeah, pretty compelling. Definitely not a bad pick in this range. Sometimes I've seen him in the 6th, but sometimes I pass on him in the 5th, and it feels like, in hindsight, why did I do it? Like, in general, it's just one of the picks in the 5th that you will never regret. Like, if Loveland's available in the 5th, you will never really regret it. You feel like you got a value because he usually goes in the 4th. Lamar, for whatever reason, we fade because on the season last year, he had pretty bad points. He does have injury risk. That's really the only issue, but is anyone really more likely to finish as MVP than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? Like, one of those two is the main contender every year. And maybe this year it's different. You know how I feel about Herbert, but in general, it's a pretty safe bet. When he was healthy, he was averaging over 25 points per game playing at quarterback. The new Declan Doyle system should be advantageous. Would have been interested in Tyler Warren there. We had Taylor, so the double Colts bet would have been interesting. We do have a couple Week 13 buys, though. But Jadarian Price falls here. I haven't been taking a ton of him lately, but I suppose round 6 is where I should maybe get back in for a little bit. It doesn't feel as disgusting, and I definitely wasn't taking him much in the 5th. So he's not making it back to 81. And compared to the other running backs available, I would say he's probably better. I've been trending towards Pollard over Price lately, but at least right here today, I think I'll take Price 64. But I could see him fall even further. I remember on the first day these contests opened, when Best Ball Mania launched, I drafted day one. I did take Jadarian Price at like pick 75. I got him in the top of the 7th round. And a week later, he was in the 5th round. Maybe not even a week later, maybe like 3 days later. So now he's trickling back down. It makes some sense. There's a little bit of Charbonnet hype, but also like the camp reports. Ultimately, I think at this point of the year, the camp reports are mostly hoopla in terms of like knowing exactly what the depth chart will look like in Seattle. I think is not a bet you want to be making with the most conviction at this point in time. Ultimately, the high draft capital is probably the safer bet. And while I really like Tony Pollard, I wouldn't say he has the same true upside as Jadarian Price. The Seahawks would like to run the ball. Historically, that's been the move. So until Charbonnet gets healthy, he should be the man. I don't think it's going to take very long for him to establish the majority of the workload, if not instantly. And I'm just not that afraid of Emmanuel Wilson or George Holani, whoever is alongside him. I don't worry that much about it. They took him in the 1st round ultimately, so they're kind of just forced to bet on him. And the 6th round running back gets kind of tough in general, but don't love round 7 for the running back position. That's for sure. Pivoting too far off ADP is not the sharpest move. With more volume, can you expand on that? In the early rounds, the more volume you have, perhaps the less of a bold stance you would like to take, because there's always going to be the pick distribution factor. Like in an ideal world, if we draft 120 teams, we'll have 10 teams exactly at every single draft allocation spot. So that will randomize some of your chances as well. Harrison falls back at 81. You know what? Sure. I think I'll do it at pick 81. I definitely shit on it at times, but 13 pick fall. If I'm ever going to take him, it's got to be something like that. A full round discount on Harrison. He could fall further, but there's also a time when, yeah, maybe he's fallen enough from the true upside standpoint. Before he got hurt last year, he did have multiple games with over 15 fantasy points. And there's still a compelling argument that they don't want to give up on him, especially with a new coaching staff. But back to this point. I think in the 1st round, especially the 2nd round as well, but lesser, to a much lesser degree. The 1st round is where I'm kind of going to let the randomizer of my pick slot, for the most part, decide my fate. If you really want to get weird at times, I've definitely done it. But if you're going to be drafting a bunch in the same contest, then at least to start out, I'd probably just stick a little bit more in line with ADP, just so I get a balanced distribution of all the players. Because while maybe they're not in the perfect order in round 1, no one is a bad pick in round 1. There might be some great picks and then some picks that are just very good. But other than injury, there's no way a healthy player being drafted in round 1 is going to burn you. So that's where knowing exactly which one is the best is, you know, a bit more of a luck of the draw. And if I had 20% JSN and had 0% Puka, I would feel like I am at risk of really, really missing out. So that's where volume comes into play. The more money you're willing to invest in this type of, let's be honest, very risky game. Tough to actually thread the needle and be that elite, not just 1% team, but 0.001% in many instances. That 1 in 100,000 team that takes it all down. If you're going to a bunch of them, maybe I'd rather have, 10 shares in an ideal world out of 120 teams, 10 shares of Gibbs, 10 shares of Bijan, 10 shares of Jamar Chase, 10 shares of Puka. So on, down the list, everyone, ideally. But where you want to pivot off of that is as the ADP trickles down the board and you can isolate, okay, maybe this guy shouldn't be here. That's where I'm willing to fade someone and risk having much less than the market on this player, because you want to avoid the landmines. Typically, other than injuries, there are no landmines in round 1. You can definitely win, in theory, with any first-round pick. There's some you feel better about, but that's my argument for why you don't want to pivot too far off the early ADP. Early ADP is critical in this statement. Context, always important. If Laporta's here, I think I'm just going to take him. I've kind of stopped taking him for a minute. 10-pick fall, and he's just so dominant when healthy. I love the offensive coordinator signing of Drew Petzing. That was Trey McBride's offensive coordinator and play caller last year. And that offense really thrived in a dog shit environment. You're telling me Petzing kept Brissett going that well in fantasy without a run game? They had no run game whatsoever. They were throwing Michael Carter out there. So it was all in the passing game, and McBride was that good. I think there's a compelling argument that maybe Laporta is by far a better value than JMO. As much as I like JMO, at cost, I think I'd rather have Laporta stacked than JMO stacked. And speaking of that, here he is. Jared Goff is still on the board. Falls into the lap like a glove. Sam Laporta 105, Jared Goff 112. Pretty sweet. The quarterback position I think is done probably, barring like an elite discount. I think we'll probably stop with Lamar and Goff. I think that's enough to spend, and then just the conviction that Lamar is really just who you need. Happy with that. But Air Jeff, Team 11 is killing it. Would have taken T over Flowers, but Allen in the 4th is awesome. Excuse me. I said often. Team 11 goes Cook, Saquon, Flowers, and Josh Allen. Yeah, I would agree. I'm T Higgins over Flowers as well, but these days Flowers is going early, so to get him on this side of the board, maybe in this contest isn't that big of a deal. But Allen could still be a little bit tough to advance even in the top of the 4th round. I think in the 40s it becomes a no-brainer. But structurally at times, Allen can get a little difficult because it is so expensive. But it's not a problem. It's a good problem to have. Definitely a good problem to have on your hands. Cardinal Tate, Roma Dunze filling out the receiver position. Harvey, Sutton, both stacked with Bo Nix, and then Harold Fannin. Team's coming together. Team's okay. Fannin there could be gross, but overall, quarterback feels excellent. You got to stop there with Bo Nix. I think you will. I believe in you, Jedi. But receiver feels pretty decent with Flowers, Cardinal Tate, Roma Dunze, and Sutton. Would have been awesome if DJ Moore somehow made it back, but he went pick 50 in this one. I haven't seen DJ Moore go that high in actually quite some time. DJ Moore has been falling more often than going early. But shout out Steve Schaup from the Fanspeak Network. He's a fan of DJ Moore. It's a pretty compelling argument in terms of that offense. I like DJ Moore, but I think I've been talking myself into Dalton Kincaid a little bit more lately. Andrews just got sniped. Would have definitely been the pick had he been available. I don't want JCM. I'm definitely not taking Shakir over Kincaid. I've adjusted my rankings at tight end. I really like Dalton Kincaid, actually. The price is what's most important, but the upside for him, he can drop a 19-point game, especially in full PPR. He could definitely do that. But when he gets the touchdown, he really delivers. And he's also one of the few players that's capable of dropping like a 75-yard game like 6 out of 10 times. Like more than half of the time when Kincaid's active, he's giving you a ton of yards. And if he can just string together some consistency, boy, will he be valuable. There's a world where he's a top 5 finish at the position. So I've been wanting to draft more of him, and I do it today. I will take the minor discount on Stephon Diggs. I have a lot of Diggs already, so I've been thinking about it since the open of Best Ball Mania. Stephon Diggs has actually already had a pretty significant rise. I think he was around pick 150 at the start of BBM. We're in July already. He's risen about 17 picks. And the more I think about it, how high could he go in terms of like just sheer return on investment? So I don't want to have all the shares of Stephon Diggs. He is still a little old after all, suffered an ACL tear just 2 years ago. But he's very talented. He's definitely the most competent, probably wisest addition to any receiving core of all remaining veteran wide receivers, and should be pretty coveted. I'm kind of convinced he signs in Washington, but really could go anywhere. What if he signs in Baltimore? That's also possible. No doubt about it. The Ravens would be a tempting landing spot, especially if he's trying to chase a ring. So if Diggs goes to Baltimore, man, the Flowers slappies are going to be sick to their stomach. They're going to be upset. I hope I'm not speaking it into existence, but at least on this team, it'd be pretty fire if it happened. It's not like they have a bunch of weapons, especially with losing Isaiah Likely. They were in talks with David Njoku that never happened. I definitely think they're still considering bringing in another veteran pass catcher. They have 2 rookies. Will Tez Walker develop? I'm not sure. But Rashad Bateman looked kind of washed, and at least the last regime was not the most inclined to trust him. So a new regime could definitely move on, and we still got all those names available. There's also the Jesse Minter connection. Maybe Keenan Allen could go to the Ravens. That would be interesting. I don't know if the defensive coordinator paired up with the Hall of Fame receiver is the most likely outcome. But if Keenan's going to play other than the Chargers, it's most likely LA or a team that just pays really well, but he might just want access to the ring. It could happen. I wouldn't bet on it, but it could happen. It's not a 0% chance. Running back, probably valuable here. I don't love it. I don't love this pick, but I've got a bet on Detroit already going. Pacheco can catch passes. I think really the main bet is like Gibbs goes down and Pacheco slides in. I think the contingent value is really the main point of discussion on Pacheco. I think he goes high enough where all of that is already baked in. And if he never gets a chance where Gibbs comes off the field, then this is really, really a bad pick. But ultimately, the Detroit offense is why you have to do it sometimes. I don't feel great about it, but we got Taylor and Chase Brown, Jadarian Price. In theory, we can hold it down. And there weren't a ton of excellent values there. Bigsby went to game tight. That's fine. My ranks probably say Bigsby, though, was the better pick. The reason the Price selection has felt even grosser to me lately is because I've been a little more confident in the Charbonnet decision. And if Charbonnet has any value, it's probably to the detriment of Price. But, like, you know for a fact that Price is going to have some weeks for sure before Charbonnet hits. So obviously there's a way to play Charbonnet on your team. I think this is one of those strategies. Definitely RB5 I think has to be the main course of action here. But also paired up with Jadarian Price, I think from the correlating weeks, that's an offensive backfield that typically offers a shit ton of value at the running back position. Having both, I don't think is the worst plan, especially with a double anchor up top with Taylor Chase Brown. And then you're telling me I'm basically locking in the Seahawks' most valuable running back every week, except maybe weeks 1 and 2. The flex spot should be solid. And then if I get anything out of Pacheco where Gibbs is off the field, then that's going to be excellent. But perhaps I should have just trusted myself and taken Bigsby where I've told you he should always be going. I think they are definitely more in the back-to-back type of range. This is very appropriate on Tank Bigsby. The 13-14 turn. Round 13 is probably where Bigsby all of the time should have been going. So love to see him finally moving up into this range. Him versus Keaton Mitchell. I'd probably still rather have Keaton Mitchell, but is there any other handcuff I'd rather have beyond Keaton Mitchell than Tank Bigsby? I'm not sure. On this one, though, we took Pacheco. I had Goff, though. There's at least the Lions correlation justifying it a little bit. But not that much. I will say, I'm not selling myself very much on taking Pacheco over Bigsby in a vacuum. On this team, I think it's all right. But in general, I don't think I'll be doing that again. I think I can stop at 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. So here, Schultz would be valuable. Just like he was on the last team. But it's not really the... Did I get it? I just said I can stop at 2 tight ends. Why did I queue up Schultz? Just because of the fall, I guess. He fell 10 spots, but thank God I got Sean Tucker in. Why did I queue up Schultz there? I'm getting high. It's getting late. Maybe the sleep deprivation is starting to hit me, but you're here with me. Not everyone just woke up from a big nap. This late, it's not typical. If anyone's on the East Coast, it's probably happening to them. But this is definitely my last draft. I'm not doing another one. I promise you that. But I bet there ain't been a Bowers, St. Brown, Kraft team. There's probably at least one. Bowers, Amon-Ra, Kraft. Sending it, Burgess. The bully tight end. Shit, I'm on the clock again. That was fast. But I think I'm just going to grab Surratt. We could go Antonio Williams, but if we're grabbing a rookie, it should just correlate. I'll go with Lamar and Elijah Surratt. I'm not that convinced that Diggs would actually sign in Baltimore. It's like I said, it's possible, but I'd rather still also make some other bets elsewhere. I did not get Mandrews. Never had access to Flowers. I mean, I guess I did, but I didn't take him over Olave. I think I'm going to grab 2 more receivers to close this out. I think we're going to go with a 2-6-8-2. And let's remind you how it went. Lamar in the 5th. Goff in the 10th. Always feels nice. Especially with Laporta. Excellent stack. Laporta in the 9th. We got Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Jadarian Price, and Zach Charbonnet. That Seahawks duo feels pretty sweet, not going to lie. Isaiah Pacheco and Sean Tucker. There's a world where I really overspent on these 2 guys, but I think Sean Tucker is totally worth this pick. And 6 running backs on a Taylor Chase Brown team. That is perfectly fine. Receiver, though, Olave, Egbuka, Harrison, Jaden Reed, and Stephon Diggs. The fall on Harrison is the only reason we did it. A little fall on Olave, a little fall on Egbuka. Little fall on Jaden Reed as well, and Diggs. Nothing too crazy. We did pull up Surratt, though. It's so cheap, however, it means nothing. The tight end room, though, is exciting. Laporta at 105, 9-pick fall, and then Kincaid just past ADP, but banking on some elite upside potential. 12 points is not like an unrealistic average for Dalton Kincaid. 12 points per game is not impossible for him to hit. But like I said, locking in receiver, I think, is the move. I think I'll go Keenan on this one. Those are my ranks. I've been wanting to mix in Tank Dell at times, but I think first I'll go Pat Bryant, actually. I think I'll go Pat Bryant first. I don't think there's a desperate need to go Keenan first. We can still stick to taking Keenan in the last round. But I'm going to take a bunch of Keenan. I took him on the last one, so maybe don't do it again. Yeah, I should pace myself a little bit. I don't want to wind up 40% Keenan in this contest, and he actually does retire. That would fucking suck. A reasonable investment in Keenan, I think, is wise. But maybe not going overboard is also critical. The bring back options are slim. We got Bengals or Bears. They're some of the most expensive teams to get. So not gonna try and get a bring back, just gonna try and take the best pick. I suppose Ted Hurst wouldn't be terrible. Kind of want to mix in Christian Kirk, but I've actually started to think Devon Vele is pretty legit. I'm going to go Devon Vele. Fuck it. We have Chris Olave. What if Jordan Tyson doesn't hit or has like some injury concerns? What if that offense is just elite and like randomly Vele has another 19-point game like he did last year? He only had one interesting game, but you never know. I think given the trade capital and more of a veteran status, he's much older than Bryce Lance. He's probably the better swing to take in New Orleans this late than the other guy, than Bryce Lance. So with Olave, maybe it's not the wisest bet, but what if Olave just misses like 2 or 3 games randomly with like, I don't know, something minor, nothing too serious, but like, what if, here's an example. What if he misses 2 games with a concussion? You know, he's had concussion issues in the past. What if he misses 2 games with a concussion, and maybe they're just being cautious on the second week because of his history? Maybe there's the bye right after, so they're like, nah, we're going to wait until after the bye. Olave, you're sitting. And in those weeks, Devon Vele just fucking goes ham. Maybe he's this year's Ryan Flournoy, something like that. But, all right. Full team in scope. The running back room, we added Sean Tucker after our recent recap. Feels like that was a clutch save, honestly. Almost took a tight end. That would have been bogus. But receiver, full room has Olave, Egbuka, Harrison, Jaden Reed, Diggs, Surratt, Pat Bryant, and Devon Vele. Now it looks a little better. It looked kind of thin earlier, but the bet here is decent enough. And then the fall on Harrison, he has to work out, but decent enough. Reed and Diggs, decent enough, and very high upside as well. So wish me luck. Hopefully it works out. But if you are a Blunt Rotation member, please leave a quick comment on which team you had so I don't forget you. I'm going to shout out the team members real quick. We'll do a few team reviews, but earlier in the chat, I noticed the Jedi Loco. It looks like your Blunt Rotation membership may have been gifted or just expired. No longer a member, so at least that's one fewer team review I have to do. I got to give Underdog's anonymous one, A-Rod at the 101. Superbeast Keith has one incoming at the 103. I don't think Buddy Man is a member. I don't think Anthony is a member. I don't believe anyone other than Jedi Niner and Game Tight. So the two double bookends, those 4 teams, are all members. Pardon me, Mr. Mufasa. Let me know if you're a member. I'm not totally sure. Mr. Mufasa at pick 10. I don't believe, but I could be wrong. But Mike McCullough, first time I've got a snipe on Vele. Sorry, bro. Yeah, unstacked Vele selection. Probably wasn't expecting that. But Buddy Man, maybe you just wanted him. Okay, yeah, you just wanted him. You didn't have Shuck. Shuck is on a different team. All right, but yeah, team 3, please. You got it, bro. Shaolin24 kid saying, I'm currently taking Keenan on Colts teams. I can really see him signing there because of Steichen and missing Pittman role. I would agree. The injury to Alec Pierce especially, I could easily see Keenan actually go there. If he doesn't go there, I think it's more likely he plays than retires. And so even if it doesn't happen, I'm willing to take him. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to be like 40% on Keenan because he could definitely just not play. And on Colts teams right now, it feels like the most logical, wisest move. And at least for my Trey Harris bags, holy shit, that'd be great. My Quentin Johnston bags would be very grateful. Same for my Ladd McConkey shares. Hopefully Keenan does play and is not a Charger. But that wasn't easy. There were times when I thought it was kind of easy, but also I kind of fell behind at receiver at times. I was a little pissed to get Harrison, not Parker Washington. But I passed on Lemon. I chose my fate. It is what it is. All right, let's take a look. A-Rod from the 101. Herbert and Mahomes, love it. Love it. You know there's going to be some stacks, ideally. Love it. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Bucky Irving. I like getting 2 of the 5th rounders. Not bad. The bet on Bucky is risky, but probably worth it if he's healthy. He has had some spike weeks, but it's a little scary. You also took Kenny Gainwell. That's an interesting way to go about it. I'm not sure I love taking both of these guys. I think when I take Bucky, I just want to take Bucky alone. Or maybe with Sean Tucker. But I think Kenny Gainwell can severely impact Bucky Irving. Well, it's not necessarily that like you get 1 week where one hits the other, it hits with the other guy. I think there's a world where like both of them are just so average. Neither are like that great together. So I'd like to mix it up where I don't have both Tampa Bay expensive guys on the same team, but I guess it could work out as well. We have a handcuff on our team. Dylan Sampson, though, not my favorite pick, but a viable handcuff for sure. It's mainly the bet on these 3, and anytime you have Gibbs, it feels excellent. But Montgomery there for volume, like it. The Gibbs-Montgomery play, that's some nice correlation there. Feels like a nice fit with Gibbs and Montgomery on the same roster. Rashee Rice, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, so the double with Herbo. Jaden Higgins, number 4. Yuck. Jalen Naylor, number 5. Judy, Malik Washington, and Wicks. Okay, so yeah, some yuck selections. I'm a little more interested in Jalen Naylor recently. Maybe just because I haven't been taking him at all, and he's starting to slip a tiny bit. But other than Wicks, I don't like these 4 picks too much. In a vacuum. Above ADP on Naylor still feels kind of weird. But I don't hate it. The other 3, I'm not that excited. So it's all about these 3. For the most part, that's the real bet. And then you also have Kelsey and Gadsden and Parkinson. Perhaps one too many Charger. Perhaps. I'm not saying it's like a guarantee. In general, you can't have too many. But you have Ladd and QJ. And then with the ambiguous tight end room also having Gadsden, I think you're so committed to these 2 receivers in the receiver room. The Gadsden stack might be a little overkill. I think I might want a different team bet with tight end too, because Gadsden's not going to be very consistent, most likely. I still think Njoku mixes in enough to be annoying. And then the offense is also, just spread around a lot, still run first. It's the Mike McDaniel tight end, so I get it. There's the bring back potential, but the Gadsden pick, I don't love, not going to lie. I think it could have been receiver and helped you more. But running back can work. The double Tampa, not too bad. But quarterback, like I said, I love it. Running back is decent. And then the Chargers, Chiefs bring back. Maybe a little too much, but not in a way where I'm that scared. The team absolutely can advance. And I've mentioned it from the 101. I love the Gibbs, receiver, running back start. I think double tapping White out at the 2-3 turn and then getting 2 running backs at 4 and 5 feels pretty sweet. I also don't mind grabbing the third receiver, though, instead of Bucky. So some bold takes. Ladd at 25 is definitely on the high end. Probably the highest I've seen him go. But if I recall back in, I don't know if it was April or May. I think it was April. With Jiri, we took Ladd and I think T. Higgins. Something like that. At the 2-3 turn once. Anyways, I digress. We got Super Beast in here. Sorry, Keith, for the delay. Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud, and Aaron Rodgers. Hurts should deliver, but has been trending down lately. Stroud and Rodgers a little mid when it comes to upside. But Swift, Travion, Warren, Brooks, and Marshawn Lloyd. So 4 early, but maybe no truly elite option. But Henderson could just be the man and hit for 30 points when you need him most. So running back room works, and then the Brooks bet, always interesting. Marshawn Lloyd as well. Boy, you like the injured guys. You like the X-rays with a bunch of fractured bones, don't you? Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Dobbs, Boston, and Branch. Pretty legit receiver. No issues there. Elite up top with the top 3. And then Pittman number 4. Excellent. Goddard, Sadiq, and Freiermuth. Love the Goddard. Oh, actually, I thought he would have fallen. You took him a little early. Interesting. Who'd you pass on for Goddard? Mandrews and Kincaid. Yeah, I get it. Running back was probably not the move there. I probably would have taken Baker or Malik, though. Myself, I think that might have been the move. Having one of them instead of Stroud and Rodgers, not bad. But Stroud and Rodgers do stack up, so that's part of the plan. And then Goddard does stack up. You know what? Never mind. I forgot you had Hurts, honestly. Hurts has kind of been blending into the background whenever I look at teams. There's something about him. I understand why he falls into the 80s sometimes. I'll say that. But, okay, the Goddard pick makes way more sense now. And I like Goddard, so who am I to judge? I've definitely taken him there. No issue. In full context. Makes plenty of sense. Game tight, though. I think our last member team review, we got Jackson Dart and Kyler Murray. That's fine. 2 running quarterbacks, that's fine. Just got to stay healthy. Hampton, Travis at 36, pretty legit. Tyrone Tracy, I mentioned how I don't like his expensive cost right now. If you believe in Scatabo, then Tracy is definitely too expensive, deserves to fall. But will definitely have a role, no doubt. Bigsby took him at the 13-14 turn, very appropriate. Paired with B-Rob, also an elite handcuff. Contingent-wise, these 2 bets are pretty phenomenal. But Mike Washington and Jordan James, so just taking all the contingent upside you possibly can. The Hampton Travis anchor, though, probably saves you. You may be in deep shit if Travis or Hampton suffer an injury. So would I. I have enough invested in both these 2 players. I would really be fucked if they both got hurt. So let's not speak that into existence. From the true upside standpoint, this team is definitely very competitive. Will these 2 be good enough where the risky floor isn't a problem? We will see. Jefferson, T. Higgins, BTJ, Tyson, Godwin, Alec Pierce, and Darnell Mooney. Love the receiver room. I think stopping at 7 when Pierce is your 6th. Totally fine with that. And then Mooney is a very interesting bet. Any Giants receiver, an interesting bet stacked with Dart double stacked with Likely, and then Gunnar Helm also on this team. Interesting year 2 breakout in store for him. So maybe running back has one too many options. Like maybe one of these guys at running back could just be even another tight end, possibly, if not another receiver. But I don't think it needs to be a receiver. I think tight end possibly, but that's the position that matters much less than running back. So yeah, quarterback just has to stay healthy, but I understand having 7 running backs now that I see the full team. Good luck, Game Tight. Always a pleasure drafting with you. You know how to push some builds to the extreme, and especially with a badge like yours, you got to diversify some of the builds. So respect it. Cheers, brother. And cheers to everyone who's watching, especially if you were drafting with me today. If you haven't done so, hit the like on the way out, but we are done. We're past midnight, and maybe one more hit for the road, shall we? I got to pack a bowl real quick. While that's going on, let me remind you a little promo. If you haven't signed up and you were interested in hopping into those streets, the Fast Puppy is the perfect place to practice. $5 gets you $50 in bonus funds. Once you play your first 5, there's an extra 50 waiting for you. So 1 puppy, get 10 for free. You could also use that for 2 BBMs. And then in theory, it's possible that the Bulldog is still open. I'm not convinced of that. I'm going to check right now. It might have already closed. No, the Bulldog still has 1,300. It still has about 122 spots open in the Bulldog. There's about 10 lobbies currently open in the Bulldog. Let me. Sorry, let's get rid of that. Let me bring this in. This is the current standing on the Bulldog. If you told me I could sign up for Underdog right now and get $50 off my Bulldog team, I would do that in a heartbeat right now. It's a very small contest. 3 out of 12 is one of your best chances in the initial pod you have. But then 2 out of 6 is elite. 1 out of 4 is phenomenal. And then the final, I don't think it gets any better than this. Maybe there's a 20-person final in one contest, but 31 people in the final. If you make the final, which is very possible, you at least get $300, but you have a chance for $20,000. And if you finish right in the middle of the pack, let's say you finish 16th out of 31, you're still taking home $1,250. This is the contest to use that $50 promo for. So one more time, promo code BLUNT in the description. Play 5, get 50 on us. Sign up with the link down below. In fact, let me link it in case you're interested. But the show's basically over. I'm just kind of filling time and supporting the sponsor of the channel. I'm also packing a bowl. And then I'm going to get ready for bed. We're going to go to bed after that. But okay. Appreciate everyone for popping in last time. I'll see ya on the other side. Bye.